Cut to admission day. Giomma's in uniform, looking dead inside like every student on Monday. Admission day is also armament inspection, so no weapon means no fun. The inspector sizes Giomma up and clearly doesn't like what he sees. When Giomma shows the sashimi knives, the guy explodes, acting like Giomma disrespected the whole academy. Giomma stays calm and insists that this is his armament. The inspector pauses, confused, like his brain is buffering. The inspector shouts at him to explain himself, and Giomma answers respectfully. He says he's a special entrant from an ordinary family, and buying an expensive weapon would crush his parents. The inspector notices Giomma's nameplate color and realizes he really is special admission. His anger cools down into awkward understanding, because now he can't just bully the kid for being poor. Giomma adds that only weak people blame their tools. The mood shifts as if something sharp is about to happen, and it's not just his words. The inspector suddenly respects him, calling it real tenacity, like he just watched a shonen protagonist speech. Then the dude gets emotional, basically declaring Giomma the GOAT in his own head. He officially approves Giomma's armament, so the knives are allowed. Giomma thanks him and moves on while other students stare like they just saw someone bring a spoon to a sword fight and win. Nearby students gossip about this special entrant like it's juicy drama. You can see the elite kids side-eyeing him, like, oh great, another poor student. The inspector yells at everyone to shut up and move along after inspection. He even brags he can be an angel or devil depending on behavior, and the students snap into rigid yes sir mode like instant boot camp. In the real world, Kim would snuck gaming on his phone, and yeah, it's that kind of mobile game. Pay to win, auto battle, the whole lazy grind setup that always shows up on your feed. He taps into Blessing of Miracle M, and the title screen flashes like it's about to do something dramatic. The game shows off its shiny main cast like a gacha poster trying way too hard. But the twist hits hard. He didn't just download the game, he got dragged into it. And the cruel joke is, he didn't become a hero or even a named NPC. He's now living as Giomma Kang, walking around a career that feels almost normal. Then he bumps into a blue-haired woman, and the contact hits like a sudden jump scare. He realizes she's real, not some UI sprite, and it throws him off for a second. He checks himself and plays it cool, since at least the setting matches what he knows. On the train, everything lines up like a slightly edited version of his old world, so he adapts fast. He even pays a fare like it's nothing, acting like this is just another day. Even back in the real world, Chef Kim knows that there's nothing he couldn't slice. For 20 years, he worked until blisters covered his hands, and now people call him the top knife master in Korea. Back in the real world, the restaurant is popping off with fancy sushi plates flying out non-stop. Customers keep hyping the head chef like he's a celebrity. Then a phone starts ringing, and it's loud enough to cut through the whole kitchen. Even the cooks freeze and look around, like who forgot to mute their life. Chef Kim is mid-slice on a fish, totally focused, but that ringing keeps hammering his ears. One of the staff awkwardly points out his phone is going crazy. Kim checks it, annoyed, because he thought it was on silent. The screen shows a game alert from Blessing of Miracle M, like the game is begging him to come back. A worker pulls the kitchen curtain and says someone is here to see him. Kim tries to dodge it right away, telling them to act like he's not even around. That plan lasts about 2 seconds. Whoever is outside basically calls the bluff and steps right in, no hesitation. A big-shot thug-looking dude rolls up with bodyguards and acts way too casual. He pushes Kim for an answer, saying Kim has had plenty of time to think about their offer. The thug acts all friendly, like he's doing Kim a favor. Then he opens a case stuffed with money of about 200 grand, trying to buy Kim's loyalty on the spot. The guy grins like he already won, promising Kim won't regret it. But Kim's eyes sharpen, and the knife in his hand catches the light, and the fish, all at the same time. The mood drops hard, and even the guards feel it. The thug starts gassing Kim up, calling him some blade god and saying his skills are wasted on fish. Kim snaps his knife up with a clean, scary flash. The whole crew flinches, because they realize this chef can end the conversation in one move. The thug laughs it off, but he clearly didn't get the message. Grabbing his knife, Chef Kim threatens them again. He tells the boys to leave, and they straight up scream. Of course, the thug won't let it end here. He tells Kim that he will be back. But as if Kim cares about any of that. Later that night, a co-worker talks to Kim, shocked he turned down a huge upfront payment and gang work. The co-worker keeps trying to sell the idea, saying it's just using his reputation, not real violence. He suggests Kim should take the money to live an easy life. He can even buy a house or open his own sashimi shop. Kim stays firm and plays it off as nothing, even calling the non-stop buzzing a game notification. Then the boss starts yelling for the cooks, so the co-worker decides to handle it first. Kim steps outside for a smoke, looking up at the night sky. His co-worker's words echo in his brain. He's been working non-stop ever since his family fell off, so he's considering the offer now. While reaching into his pocket, he fumbles and checks his phone again. He wonders if he reinstalled that game while drunk and decides he should delete it for good. He taps the notification by accident. Instant regret hits because the app starts launching like it heard him talking trash. The game's title screen fills the phone with loud, dramatic music, and it's doing the most. Kim even admits the characters still look good, which is exactly how these games trap you. Suddenly, the screen glitches out with a huge error-like text, like reality just lagged. Kim stares, confused, as the phone buzzes and the display freaks out harder. In the next moment, he sees a flash. The co-worker pops out again, saying the boss wants Kim downstairs right now. But when he looks around, Kim is gone, and only the phone is left behind. The co-worker can't understand why Kim would ditch his phone. Inside, the boss is already barking for the head chef, and the staff gives some dumb excuse to buy time. The phone screen blasts white and shows a full transfer complete message. The co-worker runs off, still clueless, while the phone keeps buzzing on the ground. Back at his place, it hits him that this life has details he never had before, like a normal home routine. He uses a keypad lock and almost forgets he's stuck inside a game world. Outside, someone calls him the pride of the Kang family, so yeah, this body had a whole backstory. Then he sees the acceptance letter to Joaquin Academy with his name printed on. His parents are hyped, talking like his admission is the family's biggest win. Gioma forces a smile and agrees to pack, even though he's clearly not feeling it. Alone in his room, he slumps at his desk and sighs, because admission day is right there. He tried dodging it, but his parents basically said, "Nope, you're going." He stares at a family photo and feels that weird guilt of living someone else's life. His eyes sharpen as he realizes this kid's past must have been way more intense than he thought. He wonders how Gioma even got into a top academy, and the answer is kinda wild. Apparently, the real Gioma unlocked a blessing and passed the entrance exam fast, before our guy took over. Gioma studies the acceptance letter like it's a puzzle piece that doesn't fit. In this world, blessings are basically the game's skills, but not everyone gets one. The same idea gets hammered again because Manhwa loves repeating the rules for safety. Blessings are mostly genetic, and having one decides social status like a fantasy caste system. Joaquin Academy gets framed as this hero school with a big name and even bigger history. But these days, it's basically an elite club for famous hero families. A special admission system was added for kids from non-hero families, and that's Gioma's ticket in. Then the mood shifts because Gioma knows that this world is not Horimiya. The world lore reminds us there's a demon king out there, so this isn't slice-of-life school stuff. Gioma sits at his desk like, bruh, this academy feels like getting drafted again. He tries to chill, thinking about blessings, and then a status window pops up like a cheap RPG overlay. It shows a blessing that removes pain for a short time, and he's still not used to seeing pop-ups in real life. He checks what Gioma's original blessing was and immediately hates it. 30 seconds of relief with a huge cooldown is the kind of skill you re-roll for. Then he remembers the blessing he got after taking over the body, and it's way more extra. It's called Blessing of the Blade God, and it only activates with a small blade, which is such a weird restriction. For a name that grand, the description is almost too simple, which makes it creepier. Gioma starts doing the math on the blade size limit and realizes what kind of weapon fits it. Yep, it's basically a sashimi knife, the most unhero weapon ever. He tries to brush it off, but you can tell he's not okay with this setup. He leans back, second-guessing if he packed everything for admission day. Then he remembers the biggest problem of all. He doesn't actually have a proper weapon. In this world, even trash-tier armaments cost a fortune, and high ranks are priceless. Gioma doesn't want to waste money on a school he never asked to attend. He stares into space, annoyed and tired, and lets out a heavy sigh. You can feel him deciding to just deal with it, because what else can he do? He stands up to make a visit to the dollar store, making up his mind. Then he randomly thinks about his old Blade Master geezer, like some memory is pulling him forward. Gioma finally escapes outside and says he needs rest, because that whole line was exhausting. Sitting on a bench, he admits it feels awful actually living through what he knew would happen. He tells himself he cleared inspection and even skipped the entrance ceremony like a pro slacker. Now the only thing left is the class placement exam, and his face screams, "I am not built for this." The academy's massive buildings loom in the distance, looking way bigger than on a phone screen. Gioma admits seeing it in person hits different, like the graphics went from mobile to next gen. The towers and campus are straight-up fantasy Hogwarts vibes, just cleaner and more corporate. Giamma gives them credit for being impressive, even if he still feels out of place. He thinks about how insane it is that he's at an elite school after dropping out in his past life. Then an announcement blares that the class placement exam is starting soon. He looks toward the speakers, annoyed that peace never lasts here. He starts rummaging through his bag, reminding himself the placement exam actually matters. He pulls out one knife and holds it like it's his whole future. He recalls his old teacher's rule about never letting go of your blade, and he's confident because he's used knives for decades. Giamma inspects the knife carefully, rubbing it like he's checking balance and edge. He taps it and listens, trying to judge the quality like a craftsman. His eyes narrow as he makes a decision. He decides to test the blessing by cutting something small first, like a leaf, because he's not trying to blow up the campus on day one. The blade suddenly crackles with energy like it just got enchanted. A system message confirms the weapon condition is met, so the blessing can trigger. The system activates the blessing of the blade god, and lightning bursts out like a Dragon Ball aura. Then it slaps him with a warning that his body and armament grades are too low. The world glitches into this red error space. Another message says it's applying a limitation to synchronize with the user, which sounds way too ominous. Giamma's face goes full panic because he did not sign up for system surgery. The red text says synchronization is completing, and the air feels like it's ripping. A calm message flashes like a creepy blessing from above, telling him to be blessed by God. Then Giamma's eyes widen as the pain and shock hit him all at once. He screams as the energy surges through him, like the recoil is shredding his nerves. A huge flash detonates, and the whole scene blows out in light. When the light clears, he's standing in a shattered red grid space with reality cracked around him. He's stunned, thinking what is even happening right now. His knife slips from his hand as he realizes he can't control this power. The blade clatters away like it just betrayed him mid-battle. Another shockwave bursts out, and the air screams with it. Giamma's eye twitches as he tries to process the fallout and the danger he just created. Back in reality, he looks around in a daze, hearing birds like nothing happened. Then the pain spikes in his head and he clutches it, barely holding himself together. He admits his blessing activated, but the reaction was insane, like the world almost broke. His pain relief blessing barely helps, and his hand starts trembling as he fears using that power again. He stands over the dropped knife, trying to calm down and act normal. Another announcement orders new students to gather at the training grounds immediately, so there's no time to recover. He hesitates, but knows he has to pick the knife back up, because it's still his armament. His face tightens like he's about to touch a cursed item again. He kneels and reaches for the handle with a shaky hand, then he grips it hard, trying to force his nerves to stop freaking out. Even that simple move makes him panic, like the blade might trigger another disaster. The scene shifts to the training grounds, a huge arena packed with people cheering like it's the sports festival. Inside the arena, students gather in groups, buzzing and flexing like they already think they're main characters. Off to the side, rich-looking adults laugh about how expensive admission was, like it's a casual shopping trip. One of them notices something and reacts with surprise. Another adult leans in, clearly sensing a big-name arrival or some spicy news. A legend appears, the Blade Emperor, Siegfried von Nibelung, one of the 7 Stars heroes. His glare alone feels like endgame content, and he's watching with that tired, scary calm. People around him start hyping him up as the strongest, but even they sound nervous saying it. The air around the VIP seats feels heavy, like everyone knows they're near a living myth. Siegfried exhales, bored or annoyed, like he's done with small talk. Then his eyes sharpen suddenly, like he spotted something worth paying attention to. Another 7 Stars hero shows up, Medea Poison, the Sage. She greets Siegfried like they're old frenemies, and she looks way too proud to be the academy director. Siegfried insults her outfit and basically calls her irresponsible, because of course he does. Medea fires back, teasing that she could make him younger with her blessing, because in reality she's already 70 plus. Medea smiles like she enjoys pushing his buttons, and Siegfried stays stone-faced. She complains he hasn't changed in decades, and you can feel the ancient grudges in the air. Medea admits Siegfried surprised her by showing up, since he hates being around elites. The camera pulls back and shows them watching the arena below, where the rich kids are still laughing. Medea jokes that Siegfried really cares about his granddaughter, which is the real reason he's here. Siegfried's expression tightens, like, yep, he's not denying it. Giamma stands alone in the middle of the crowd, looking like the only normal guy in a character creator lobby. He even wonders if he's the only black-haired one, and honestly, it's that kind of academy. His mind flashes back to the gossip about special entrants, and he feels that same awkward spotlight. In his memory, the elite students judged him the moment they heard the label. Jioma's eye sharpens as he senses something big approaching. The crowd starts murmuring and turning their heads toward a bright figure walking in. Jioma looks confused as everyone freaks out, wondering what's going on. Students react in awe as a stunning blue-haired girl passes them, her presence shutting down the whole room. Jioma stares, stunned, because she looks like she stepped straight out of the game's cover art. He confirms it's Abel von Nibelung, the Blade Emperor's granddaughter and the main heroine of the game. Abel keeps walking like she owns the place, and the crowd parts without anyone daring to block her. The whole thing kicks off with everyone talking about this weird place called subspace. Within this realm, woods and pain are experienced as if they're real. However, the physical body remains unharmed. Inside that space, fights are already popping off. Up in the stands, the adults explain the plan. The Academy's subspace battle is now a full battle royale, and it's all ranked. They spell it out as a survival game, and Siegfried's biggest worry hits: nobles are going to have a big advantage, no question. Medea basically admit the rules were hard to get approved, so this messy format is what they could push through. By that, she's talking about the special admission scheme. Meanwhile, Jioma is stunned quiet because Abel just walks in and every guy in uniform goes full simp mode. He sees the crowd drooling and thinks they're kind of pathetic, but also admits he'd probably act the same if he didn't know better. Abel stays cool, not minding the minor characters. In the game, she gets close with the main character, basically being the protagonist's lover. Jioma watches it all from the side and decides he should keep a low profile, since she's way out of his league and he knows it. He flips open the Academy career guide, dreaming of peace, order, safety, and a simple job where nobody tries to turn him into paste. Then he sees the hero career page and immediately rage quits the idea, remembering how his body barely handles even basic training. He claps the book shut, telling himself to leave saving the world to other people, but the announcement kicks in and the placement exam begins. The rules drop fast. It's Battle Royale style, groups of 10, and the top scorer becomes the star while second and third are dragons. Next ranks are wolves, then the rest are just regulars, and these results decide what class everyone ends up in. There's no time limit, scores are automatic, and then the subspace generator fires up like a giant portal cannon. Jioma gets pulled in with everyone else, swearing he won't even draw his knife if he can avoid it, while other groups finish super fast. Back in the stands, results keep coming in, and the adults talk like the whole class lineup is already decided, until a crazy fast clear time shows up. They pull up the record and confirm it's Abel von Nibelung, and the old man says that level of talent is basically expected from that bloodline. She's his granddaughter after all. Siegfried decides the exam is basically done and tries to leave, while Medea stays behind and jokes like she'll see him in the afterlife. But both of them suddenly feel something off, and down in the arena, people start looking around like a glitch just hit reality. Medea demands to know if he felt it too, and the crowd begins to murmur as a creepy shadowy pressure spreads over the floor. That bad feeling isn't coming from inside the arena at all, and Siegfried realizes it's something else entirely. A warning slams down, and both watchers snap to attention as if a monster just entered the academy. Then the sky rips with violent slashes, and Medea and Siegfried freeze because whatever that is, it's not part of the exam. The barrier cracks like glass, shards scatter through the air, and the whole place starts falling apart. Staff and observers stare in shock as impacts smash into the arena, like something is dropping in from above. People wonder if contestants always fall out that way, but it's clearly not normal as the light keeps flaring harder and harder. Siegfried's eye goes sharp, and then a beam slams down, pinning the chaos to one spot like a divine spotlight. Medea yells for medics and orders everyone to check students fast because bodies are hitting the ground in bad shape. Down in the subspace, one examinee freaks out at a brutal hit, screaming like he just watched a teammate get deleted. A heavy punch caves him in, and another strike sends him flying with a boom that shakes the floor. The scene is a wreck. Students down everywhere, weapons scattered, and a named bully shows up. One of them is Jun Mao. Another named bully, Shun, appears too. And it's clear these two have been messing with their group for a long time, just enjoying the suffering. Joma is already thinking how unlucky he is to be in the same group as the Wicked Twins. He stands alone, tense, realizing they're ignoring him because he looks weak, which is honestly the worst kind of bait. Shun checks the bodies like he's counting loot drops, confused because the numbers don't add up. A victim tries to ask what's going on, but the bullies keep crushing people like it's casual warm-up. Jun acts bored, stomping down another student, and then Shun points out he already took out a bunch by himself. So Jun gestures toward a trembling red-haired girl, saying he'll instead give her to Jun to make up for it. The girl tries to act calm, but her whole body says panic mode. Gioma finally snaps, seeing she's about to be next, and he realizes she's the one who was quietly standing aside earlier. The bullies slowly walk toward her, and Shun pauses like he just noticed something amusing. Shun sees that the girl is exactly his type, so he plans to do something freaky. Meanwhile, Jun smirks and admits that's his brother, and yeah, he's still a total creep. Shun gets even more unhinged, licking his lips like a cartoon villain, and Gioma finally steps forward and calls them out. He yells that they've taken it too far, then instantly regrets jumping in, while the two bullies notice there's a third person now. They spot his nameplate and realize he's a special entrant but also lowborn, so they grin like they found a free punching bag. Shun tells Jun he'll handle it quick. Then blood splatters the ground as the situation turns deadly serious. They talk about ripping out his tongue, and our guy panics, debating if he should use his pain-blocking blessing just to survive. Something drops nearby, and Gioma realizes his sashimi knife is right there. But he knows that activating his blessing will give him excruciating pain. He grips it anyway, eyes hard, and the space around him tightens. Just earlier, he opted to live for peace and safety, yet now he's already disobeying that motto. The bullies blink, confused, as he makes a move toward his bag, and a bright blade starts sliding out with a clean metallic hiss. They stare like they can't believe he's serious, laughing at him for bringing out what looks like a kitchen knife. Shun charges in to crush him, leaping like he's going for a finishing move, and Gioma braces with the knife raised. He decides he just needs 30 seconds, activates the blessing of painlessness, and locks in like this is his one clutch cooldown. Then another power triggers, the blessing of the blade god, and even Shun start yelling because he thinks Gioma is an easy prey. Gioma's face tightens, his focus sharpens, and you can see it in his eye. He's not bluffing anymore. A quick flashback hits. He once asked his master if knives can cut people like in movies, and got shut down hard for even thinking that. Back in the moment, his eye reflects a starry glow as power flares, like the blade is rewriting the rules of the world. A red killzone vibe floods the scene as Shun comes down screaming, convinced the fight is already over. Well, his fight is. The next second, his hand said goodbye to his body. Shun's body goes limp mid-air, and Gioma's eyes blaze with blue light, proving the so-called weakling just turned on God mode. He lands in the rubble with the glowing blade in hand, the floor exploding from the impact, and the whole subspace goes silent for a second. The blessing of the blade god just blessed Gioma. A memory flashes. Kim is chatting while moving fast behind the counter, asking a weird question about gangsters and sashimi. Before he can even finish the thought, something smacks into the wall right next to him. His boss, a huge and scary sushi guy, glares like a final boss and demands respect. The story drops a wild rumor that this man used to be in a gang, cut off a hand to repent, then opened a sashimi shop to do good with a blade. The boss gets even louder and compares it to trying to slice an upright loaf of bread, calling Kim a fool. Kim tries to joke his way out, but the boss snaps again and demands to be called Sir, no exceptions. Hard cut to the academy exam zone, where a massive red armored fist drops from above like a meteor. Shun looks up in pure panic, realizing he is about to get deleted. Shun's face fills with terror as he realizes his arm is messed up. Gioma keeps walking forward calmly while Shun bleeds hard. Shun crawls back, yelling for the guy to stay away, but his words have zero power here. He begs for help as Gioma keeps approaching, step by step. Gioma swings again, and the next second, Shun bids goodbye to the upper half of his head. Jun finally registers what happened, stunned that Gioma just sliced through everything with a small blade. Chloe watches quietly, lips parted, not sure what to do anymore. Jun sweats harder, shocked that Shun lost to something that looks like just a simple knife user. Gioma keeps his distance, like he is waiting, not chasing. Jun notices his body language, the heavy breathing and shaking, and wonders if this was luck or if the guy is just holding back. 3 boosts kick in at once, and the air lights up with flashy effects. Defense, jumping, and punching power all spike. June grins and brags, acting like this is the moment he becomes untouchable. June rushes in, confident the knife cannot break his defense, and he acts like Shun was just weak. Gioma does not answer with words, just quietly counts down under his breath, eyes cold. June charges with a huge blue energy punch, yelling for him to stop standing still. Gioma still doesn't move much, like he is waiting for a timer to hit 0 while the attack closes in. June promises to crush his skull right where he stands, fully committed to the beatdown. In the next moment, June's eye narrows. In the next instant, June is suddenly down, pierced all over by glowing blades like he got tagged from every direction at once. Blood spills as he shakes and coughs, and his face says he never saw it coming. June's eyes droop, and his last thought fades into darkness. Gioma finishes the countdown at 0, and the silence afterward feels heavier than the fight. A system-style notice hits. The blessing of painlessness is no longer active, meaning the real pain is back on the menu. Gioma lets out a raw scream, finally feeling everything he pushed through. After losing consciousness, Gioma finally wakes up. The scene blurs into a clean, unfamiliar room. Gioma wakes up in a hospital bed, confused and drained, realizing he survived. He tries to sit up, wincing, and his body reminds him the exam damage was not a dream. A serious staff member with taped glasses bursts in, moving fast like this is urgent. He announces the student is awake, and Gioma snaps fully alert, wondering who is about to question him. Footsteps and a door click echo in the room as more people arrive. Gioma turns, tense, ready for blame, because he knows that fight went way past normal rules. Siegfried asks what Gioma did out there, and the room turns tense. Gioma remembers the killing intent and admits it felt like he was not himself, but it still came from his own hands. Gioma stays quiet, thinking hard, his face heavy with guilt and confusion. Then his eyes shift, realizing he should not get on Siegfried's bad side. Siegfried grips his cane and gives off a pressure that makes Gioma swallow his words. Gioma explains the fight happened in a special exam space, and he believes the twins crossed the line first, even if he also went too far. Siegfried and Gioma lock eyes, a hard stare down between a legend and a kid with a scary side. Medea steps between the mood and tells Siegfried to ease up, reminding him Gioma is still young. Medea moves close and pats Gioma like he is a puppy she just adopted, saying Siegfried actually helped by fixing his body while he was out cold. She begs for forgiveness on her behalf, smiling in a way that is way too playful for this serious room. Siegfried scolds Medea for oversharing, and she clings to Gioma anyway, calling him brave. Gioma, still tense, notices his body feels light and strange, like something inside him got adjusted while he slept. On the screen, they replay Gioma stepping in to protect Chloe, and Medea gets heated while pointing it out. She declares he acted like a hero, while Siegfried tries to keep her in check before she goes too far again. Medea yells at Siegfried like they are an old married couple, while he demands basic manners. Then Medea calms down and tells Gioma the Academy will not punish him for what he did during the exam, and the twins are gone anyway. Medea giggles, saying the twins only got in through connections, and acts like their exit is deserved. Gioma listens quietly, then his mouth curls into a small, uneasy smile. At least, he's relieved that Shun and June are out. Turns out, Siegfried and Medea came to tell him one more thing, and Gioma blinks, not expecting good news. Then they reveal he is the top scorer of the exam, and they congratulate him like this is the most normal ending ever. Gioma's face freezes with a confused, sweat-drop smile, like his brain cannot match that reward with all the blood he remembers. He snaps into full shock, screaming in his head because this is not what he wanted. A few hours has passed, and we open on this huge, fancy academy building. Inside, the director Medea lounges in her office, looking tired like she has seen every kind of student drama. Medea says she has run this place forever, and even she is shocked by what just happened with the new top scorer. That top scorer is Gioma, and he basically told Medea and Siegfried that he refuses to be the top scorer. Medea and the elder Siegfried both react at the same time, like Gioma just asked for something wild. Medea explains the star class is a big deal, basically the premium route in this academy's gacha system. She also points out the elders can complain all they want, but the academy's system already chose Gioma as number 1. Gioma stays quiet, eyes half-lidded. Then he flat out rejects the offer, and Medea looks like her brain just crashed. Siegfried turns and gives that heavy side-eye, like he's about to step in and shut this down. His gaze sharpens, the kind of look that makes people rethink their whole life plan. Back in the office, Medea calls him out, saying this is not about pride or his granddaughter losing the top spot. We flash back to the exam. Back then, Siegfried notices that every fiber of Gioma's being screams he is the entity of cutting. In his mind, a brutal slash tears through. Siegfried looks shook. The memory shows Gioma's insane sword skill, the very thing that Siegfried has been chasing his whole life. Siegfried's eye twitches, realizing the kid's strength might be real. In the aftermath, Gioma is laid out, and both adults rush in, checking if he is alive. Blue lightning-like energy pulses through a body, hinting something abnormal is going on with Gioma's condition. To Siegfried, Gioma has power that shouldn't have been his. Siegfried goes quiet, holding his tea. He knows he's getting competitive against a kid as young as his granddaughter. He sets the cup down with a loud clack. He mutters that it is even more annoying because Gioma is the same age as his granddaughter. He admits the kid looks heroic on video and yeah, it stings his pride in a weird way. Medea leans in, teasing him and asking what he really thinks. Siegfried asks if she knows what young people call someone like him, setting up a roast. Medea plays along, curious and smug. Another cup clacks down as Siegfried starts to speak, close on Medea's eyes, and you can feel her heartbeat jump as she realizes where this is going. Siegfried starts saying the word slowly, dragging it out to make it hurt more, and Medea is simply listening. He finishes the last part of the word, basically calling her delusional. Medea's eyes go wide like she got hit with a critical emotional damage. Her cup cracks from the shock, because of course it does. Later, Gioma stands alone in a hallway, looking like a transfer student who already hates everyone. He stops at a sign for the wolf class, and the silence makes it feel like a low-rank but dangerous route. Gioma looks up with that blank stare. This is the best compromise he could get. People insisted the top scorer must join the star class, and Gioma pushed back hard for the ordinary track. Medea starts sweating and tries to bargain, basically begging him to help her keep things quiet. She panics inside her head, knowing the elders will go nuclear if Gioma becomes an ordinary student. Gioma opens a big door, like he is done negotiating and just moving on. The door bangs, and he flinches a bit, like even he didn't expect it that loud. He steps into a huge lecture hall full of students, and the whole place goes hush for a second. One student looks up, curious, like they are already ranking the new guy in their head. Other students stare too. We get a clear look at his name tag, confirming this is Gioma Kang, the new top scorer. A couple guys start laughing, but not at Gioma. More students join in, chatting and just doing their own thing. Gioma notices everyone is ignoring him and thinks it would be better if they never looked his way at all. He slides into a seat, making a little noise, trying to keep a low profile. Gioma pulls out his stuff with a tiny smile, like he is weirdly relaxed about the whole thing. Then someone knocks and Gioma's face shifts. Chloe shows up, nervous and fidgeting, thanking him for helping her during the exam. They face each other across the seats, both unsure how to handle the awkward energy. Chloe brings up the test, still shaken like that moment is burned into her brain. Gioma recognizes her right away, like, yep, she is that girl from the scene. He brushes it off, saying anyone would have helped, keeping his tone casual. But Chloe insists it wasn't like that, and Gioma's inner thoughts admit he did it for self-protection, not to Riz. Gioma finally introduces himself properly. Chloe introduces herself too, and they both realize they ended up in the same class anyway. Gioma gives this goofy, half-dead expression, like even introducing yourself is exhausting. He thinks about the story flow, how this is the part where new characters get introduced before the endless demon fights start. He asks Chloe to keep what happened in the exam a secret, and she quickly agrees. Chloe tries to add something else, but she can barely get the words out. A loud command cuts them off, telling students to sit, and Chloe jumps like a startled cat. Gioma tells Chloe they will talk later, and she nods, still flustered. Gioma hears the room chatter and jokes in his head that the teacher is trying to make everyone go bald. Gioma says he feels a little something, like he is about to dodge responsibility. Wonbin just hums, smiling like he has already read Gioma's tricks. Medea appears with Wonbin, saying Gioma can attend any class, even the star class, basically handing him a VIP pass. While she made his score a secret, she told some teachers about it. Gioma freaks out inside, haunted by the word secret. He quickly lies that he just needs the bathroom, then acts super grateful and says training is perfect for him. Cut to training grounds, and Gioma is already huffing, like this so-called light session is bullying. His feet drag through the dirt, each step looking heavier than the last. Other students run ahead, some even joking around, while Gioma trails behind in silent misery. Gioma forces a fake smile and says he's fine, while Chloe asks how many laps he has done. Chloe says she is already on her 9th lap, and her calm face makes it hit even harder. Gioma freezes, realizing he might be the weak one here, which is not part of his plan. Chloe cheers him on with full Genki energy, like she is the shounen side character who believes in you. Sun's going down over the dorm, and you can already tell something's off. Inside, it's a total mess with bottles rolling around like this place got hit by a mini tornado. One bottle keeps wobbling on the floor, and then bam, it gets smacked aside. Whoever lives here is clearly having a rough day. Gioma's laid out on his bed, looking half dead, and his stomach is basically yelling louder than any alarm clock. He's awake, but only because hunger won't let him sleep. Cut to the school cafeteria, packed and noisy like a tournament arena before the finals. Gioma storms up to the counter, acting like he might pass out if he waits one more second. He tries to order right away, but the staff gives him that cold, tired stare. The vibe is basically pay up or get out. Gioma realizes the system here runs on meal tickets, not vibes and desperation. He panics, says he'll come back, and begs them to keep his food for him. He jerks up and starts ranting about how unfair everything is. Hunger plus shock turns him into a straight-up drama machine. For a second, he flashes back to his dad trying to help him with pocket money, and it hits him in the feels. Since he didn't accept it, then he notices one of the bottles and the weird label, like it's important. Gioma collapses into the bed again, fully defeated. He starts wishing for some kind of miracle that could just delete hunger from the world. And of course, the moment he thinks that, a glowing system screen pops up like he just triggered a hidden quest. It talks about the Blade God blessing and his body leveling up. Gioma processes it in silence, then decides to get up. He steps out like a man who just realized the grind might finally pay off. He checks himself in the mirror and sees real changes, like he patched his stats overnight. He wonders if that Blade Emperor training thing actually rebuilt him. The screen's fine print mentions the blessing only works with a small blade. Gioma looks over and spots kitchen knives like they're legendary items waiting to be equipped. He thinks back to how scared he used to be around knives, but now it feels normal, even comforting. It's like the blessing rewired his instincts, and he's trying not to freak out. Then someone knocks at his door. Gioma opens it carefully, still not used to random visitors. It's Chloe, looking shy and worried, checking if he's okay. Gioma plays it cool, acting like he was just chilling even though he hasn't eaten solid food in days. Chloe admits she hasn't seen him at the canteen and thought he might be sick. Gioma laughs it off, but inside he's basically a starving ghost who dreams of other people's cooking. Chloe accepts his excuse, still awkward but kind. She tries to suggest they shop for food and cook together, and Gioma immediately agrees like it's the best day ever. Chloe gets flustered because it sounds like a date to her, and she short-circuits a bit. Gioma, being Gioma, just keeps moving forward. Night settles over the dorm, and later they're in the kitchen area eating. Chloe is shocked by how good the food is. She compliments how fast he cooked, and Gioma just takes it in quietly. The plates are wiped clean, which is the highest praise. They check the fridge and talk about fish, and Chloe mentions she grew up by the sea. Gioma casually says fish is his specialty, and Chloe looks at him like he's some kind of kitchen mage. Gioma grabs a kitchen knife, but he clearly feels weird about using short blades for normal cooking now. Chloe asks if he has something longer, and his answer is basically, yeah, blades are my weapon type. He calls for her attention, and Chloe suddenly pulls out a glowing katana like it's nothing. She asks if that works, and Gioma just stares, because of course she has a sword in a dorm kitchen. Gioma decides to stick with the kitchen knife, trying not to spiral. Then he locks in and activates a pain-free cutting skill. His gaze sharpens. He has 30 seconds for the blessing to wear off, and Chloe watches, stunned and silent. The fish is on the board and Gioma's blade flashes. One clean slice happens so fast it feels like an anime sword draw, but for seafood. The table is spotless right after, like he erased the mess from reality. He explains it only took a moment to prep the whole fish, and Chloe is still trying to catch up. Gioma looks proud in that quiet way, like he knows he just flexed hard. Chloe asks how he got so good at cooking, and he explains he worked at a Japanese restaurant before. Chloe doesn't even know what part-time work is, which tells you her life has been totally different. Gioma tells her it's fine, and not to apologize, keeping it gentle. He says he's glad she liked the food, and Chloe nods like crazy. She offers to wash the dishes since he cooked. Chloe starts washing, splashing water everywhere, and Gioma watches with an amused smile. He turns to the window and hums to himself, enjoying the calm. Then he hears her mess up and wince, and he looks a little nervous for her. He laughs softly, thinking she's new to chores, and it reminds him of his own younger days. Suddenly, something hits the desk with a heavy thud. A diary flips open, like fate just dropped a spoiler right in front of him. Gioma leans in, curious despite himself. He realizes it's Chloe's diary, and he catches a line about someone helping her during a class placement test. He tells himself to put it back, but the pages flip again like the book wants him to read. And that next page straight up names him, saying her heart was racing because of him. Gioma's face shifts into that smug. He decides to peek just a bit more because he's only human and the tea is too hot. He turns the page and gets hit by a wall of love confessions over and over. His brain goes full error mode, like he just got crit by romance damage. The room goes quiet in. Chloe stands there by the sink. Gioma's holding the diary, and she's confirming if he, in fact, read it. This world loves status and big names, but power always makes bullies. And in the shadows, the Auditore family does the dirty work, keeping order through straight-up assassination. Kids born into that family don't get a normal childhood. They get trained and conditioned early, like it's some messed-up factory line, and even adults get treated like tools. Chloe watches it all with those sharp eyes, learning fast. The trainers look cold, and the whole vibe says one mistake means pain. Then comes the real test. Chloe is forced to swing a blade for real, and the moment blood hits the ground, you can feel her life split in two. Her hands shake, but she still grips the sword. An old man stamps her identity into her soul, telling her to accept being an assassin. She's heard that line forever, so she just accepts it like it's gravity. She even masks her feelings on command because that's what they trained into her. Years of non-stop training twist her inside out. It leaves a dark shadow in her heart, and her emotions get turned down to almost nothing. When she finally reaches academy age, she's sent off like it's normal school. Joa 1 UN Academy ranks students by talent, but because her family works in secret, she's shoved into the ordinary class anyway. Her handler drills one rule into her head: don't stand out. Even her last few years of youth were basically stolen, while other students laugh and mess around. Chloe nods and stays obedient. No complaints. She thinks about the entrance exam, the June and Shun incident. She remembers Gioma trying to protect her. Chloe gets startled because she's used to being ignored, not defended, and she senses another threat moving in. Shun decides he'll kill the boy, like it's just another hobby. Chloe's eyes harden because to her, violence like this feels unavoidable. She stands there like a statue while danger circles closer. But her heart starts pounding anyway, because something about this scene is cracking her calm. Gioma moves fast and slashes to stop the attack. June charges in and Chloe stays behind them, watching like she's reading a textbook. That chaos pulls Chloe back to a secret memory. She remembers a fairy tale she used to read under her pillow, the kind of story she was never supposed to have. In that story, a prince fights through danger, battered but still standing. It's cheesy, but it hit her right in the soft part she forgot existed. The tale says the prince rescues a trapped princess, like a classic fantasy quest. Chloe feels her face heat up, and that warm, fuzzy feeling starts blooming in her chest. She freezes in place, hands on her cheeks, stunned by her own emotions. Then the word she can't explain slams into her mind like a title card: love. Back to reality, Gioma looks nervous. Chloe's expression goes blank and heavy, and the mood drops hard. He tries to laugh it off, but it's not working. He read Chloe's secret in her diary, and Chloe caught him on the spot. Gioma is sweating bullets and basically thinking he's doomed. He realizes the problem started when he peeked into what Chloe was writing, and he gulps like his soul just left his body. He tries to act friendly and casual, commenting on the night like it's normal. He also thanks her for food earlier, but Chloe stays quiet, giving him nothing to work with. He says he'll head out in waves, hoping to escape clean. Chloe stops him by tugging something, and he panics, not even sure what she wants him to notice. He spots a notebook on the desk and tries to play dumb, calling it a study guide. Chloe corrects him with one word that hits like a death sentence. It's her diary. Now he's spiraling, wondering how she noticed him and why she suddenly got informal. They just stand there in a wide gap of silence, like neither can breathe. Then the air snaps. Chloe draws her sword in one clean motion, and the blade flashes so bright it screams danger. Gioma stumbles back, totally shocked this is even real. He peeks toward the window and starts thinking about escape routes, desperate for any option. He realizes they're high up, and jumping would wreck him. The room only has one exit, and Chloe is basically standing between him and safety. Outside feels far away, and he's sure there's no way out. Then he hears something sharp and weird, and his instincts scream that it matters. A blade scrapes across something, sending a nasty sound through the room. Chloe steps forward with her sword down, calm and deadly, like she's done this 1,000 times. Gioma recognizes the type immediately. Her eyes look lifeless, clouded in that deep red, and it's the exact look of someone who can kill without blinking. Normally, her whole vibe flips into this strangely bright, cute tone for a second, like whiplash. Gioma flinches because he knows exactly what type of character he's dealing with. She's a yandere. He tries to reason it out in his head and basically calls her a yandere with trauma stacked on trauma. Opening that diary clearly set her off, and he's sure she'll chase him to the grave if he messes up. He decides he needs a way out right now. His brain starts counting time like a game timer, and he realizes he's got only a few seconds to use his blessings without experiencing pain. He remembers the kitchen knife from earlier and looks toward the counter. There it is, sitting on the cutting board like a tiny miracle. Chloe tightens her grip, and the sword makes that scary click, like the fight is starting. Gioma jolts as things on the desk rattle, and fear hits him all over again. He spots a box cutter in a pen holder and grabs onto that idea. Chloe swings in, the strike coming down with huge force. The attack cuts through the air in a red blur. He twists his body and narrowly avoids taking the hit clean, moving on pure survival reflex. He yanks out the box cutter, ready to defend himself for real. Right then, a system-like power kicks in, boosting him and activating something called the Blessing of the Blade God as he slashes back. A bright message flashes like a holy buff. Gioma's body flips through the air with the glowing blade energy, going all anime with it. He lands into the motion, arm raised, eyes locked in like he finally leveled up mid-battle. The tension spikes because now he might actually survive. Then he speaks to Chloe calmly, asking if she wants a haircut. And right after that, 2 red streaks crash together in a brutal clash. Chloe is knocked out cold on her bed, and she wakes up with a nasty headache. The first thing she does is reach out and call for Gioma, like she expects him to be right there. She sits up fast and scans the room, confused that Gioma is gone. Then her thoughts jump to earlier memories, when she used to sneak looks at him while doing chores, and she forgot everything after that. Chloe suddenly panics, thinking her katana is missing, and she jolts upright. Then she spots the sword leaning nearby, and her eyes lock onto it like it's the only thing keeping her calm. Relief hits her, because the weapon is safe and sound, but the mood flips when a creepy inner voice vibe pushes her to stop thinking too hard about what happened to her. Chloe stares at the katana in silence, still feeling like something is off. She face plants into the pillow and beats herself up for passing out, and maybe saying something embarrassing while she was out. She's lying there, blushing like crazy, and her mind is racing. She worries she acted weird, and that kind of panic only makes her cling to the pillow harder. Then she notices a box cutter on the floor, which makes 0 sense to her. She starts connecting dots, wondering why it's out, like it got used for something way more personal. Chloe touches her hair and realizes it feels shorter. On the floor, there's a little mess of cut hair and evidence someone cleaned up fast before leaving, which makes her even more suspicious. Instead of freaking out more, Chloe gets this bright idea and decides to write everything down before she forgets. She settles in and pats the page, like she's about to record a life-changing moment. She starts writing with this scary, calm smile, like she's proud of herself. And she finishes by writing a love confession to Gioma in her diary. Out under the moonlight, Gioma is clearly not having a good time, choking and groaning. Out of nowhere, vomits as something splashes down in a rainbow blast. A system message hits Gioma saying his blessing of painlessness is no longer active, and he starts coughing hard. He realizes this always ends the same way, and he's about to throw up everything he ate. Gioma slumps across a bench, drained and grossed out, He sighs that his dinner is gone, and being hungry just adds insult to injury. He stares up at the moon, trying to steady his mind. His thoughts drift to swordsmanship, the kind that ends fights in one clean stroke or totally overwhelms the opponent. The memory sharpens into a scary image of Chloe with killer intent, like she's a red-eyed mini reaper. In his mental replay, she's behind him mid-strike, and it looks like he's the one getting cut down. Jiyama remembers the exact moment he thought he might die. His body reacted on pure instinct, and he went straight for her throat before his brain even caught up. He realizes he got lucky because the box cutter wasn't long enough to do real damage. So he only cut her hair, cleaned up the mess, and convinces himself it ended without trouble. Jiyama reflects on how he got dragged into this shameless game world, even though he had goals and ambition. He remembers reaching the top in the past with nothing but a basic sashimi knife. Now he sits upright, serious again, like he's done being pushed around. A huge reveal drops that there's a blessing of miracle, and it sounds like one of those rare broken powers only legends get. The story points to the founding hero, Valor Joaquin, as the other person who had that blessing. And the mission is simple and classic. Save the world from the Demon King, no pressure. The game's protagonist gets chosen by Balmung, a sword that's both holy and cursed, with insane stats. Meanwhile, Jiyama's stuck with a plain sashimi knife. Jiyama slaps himself back to reality, forcing focus. He admits the academy life has made him forget his real goal, and he wonders if there's even one normal person in this whole world. He thinks he knows the key characters, but not the full world, and time is ticking fast. He expected the protagonist to already awaken his blessing and start the late admission process, but something is behind schedule. Jiyama admits he only knows the main plot, and didn't even finish the game back then, which now feels like a painful mistake. Still, he decides he'll stick to the canon route because messing with events would cost him his one big advantage. We cut to the protagonist inside the academy, looking like things are moving along in the background. The scene shifts to a holy-looking hall, and the protagonist stands facing something like a sacred test. The story pivots to the bigger conflict, demons and humans locked in drama that feels way beyond school life. It's framed like a history lesson, but the vibe is ominous. Jiyama sees an image that makes him question everything, like the plot he knew got rewritten. In his old memory, everyone dies, so he rage quits and deletes the game instantly, because he's not here for that kind of ending. Back in the present, he hears the word war and it hits him like a warning sign. He steels himself, says he still has nearly 3 years, and decides he won't die here, no matter what. He tries to calm down by telling himself these cliché stories usually end happy, and the protagonist will probably save the world anyway. Jiyama's goal is smaller, but real. Get strong enough to protect himself, like a chess pawn trying not to get crushed. Then his own blessing triggers. The blessing of the Blade God. A system window pops up with stats and grades, and even Jiyama can tell it's powerful, but it comes with strings attached. Jiyama squints and thinks through the details, trying to read between the lines. He notices the blessing has body, mind, and armament grades, like it's leveling up in separate parts. He spots synchronization with question marks, which is the kind of vague system nonsense that always hides a trap. He tries tapping the mystery part to get more info, hoping the system will just explain itself for once. The system shuts him down with access denied because conditions aren't met. Jiyama just sits there on the bench, annoyed but logical, deciding this is another puzzle and he needs a better weapon and a stronger body. He reminds himself he can't rely on the blessing of painlessness forever, since it only lasts a short time. So he decides to train to use a normal sword and checks the calendar, realizing monster hunting training for midterms is coming soon. He aims for a B-tier weapon as a realistic goal, something that can carry him until graduation if he uses it well. Then, right as he's sorting his plan out, someone calls out to him, snapping him out of his thoughts. Jiyama turns his head, sensing someone close. A turquoise-haired girl steps into view, and just from her look, you can tell she's not here to be polite. It's Abel, and she tells him that spot is her seat, like she owns the whole bench. Her face shows she's annoyed, but also weirdly nervous, like she didn't expect him to actually be there. Jiyama looks up at her, confused and a little tense, because she's way too intense for a simple bench problem. The wide view shows them both in the moonlit courtyard, and the air feels awkward. Abel demands he move, and Jiyama just goes with it, not wanting drama. He slides over on the bench, trying to keep his head down. Abel clarifies she doesn't want him gone, just shifted over, which makes it even more confusing. Giamma thinks to himself that this is probably a social class thing, and he decides not to get involved with her since it could mess up his planned route. Abel adjusts her shirt like she's resetting her cool image after that outburst. Giamma can't help noticing how stunning she is, and he hates that his brain even went there. Now they're sitting side by side, and Abel happily talks about how perfect the place is for stargazing. Giamma gets startled by how casual she suddenly is, and he glances over like he's checking if this is the same person. Giamma's face is stuck in cautious mode because he still doesn't trust the difference in her personality from the game. Abel asks if he also uses a blade as his armament, and Giamma admits yes, surprised she could tell. Abel leans in and says her grandpa taught her how to spot it. She explains that swordsmen have a different look in their eyes. Giamma doesn't know how to respond because it's too accurate and too personal. Abel then brings out her sword and offers it to him, asking if he wants to touch it. She invites him to try holding it, smiling like it's no big deal. Giamma refuses, not wanting to get tangled up with her weapon or her problems, and you can feel Abel's patience start to drop. Abel pouts with the sword resting between them, clearly upset he didn't play along. Giamma wonders if he annoyed her, and he admits to himself this Abel feels nothing like the Abel he thought he knew from the story. Abel leans closer, eyes sharp and curious, like she's about to push him again. Whatever she's planning, it's clear she's not done with him yet. Late at night on a quiet bench, Giamma gets hit with a casual greeting from Abel. She asks him if he knows her. Giamma just stares, half confused and half tired, then admits he kind of knows her. He looks like he wants to keep the peace, but he also knows she is about to poke at something annoying. From above, it is clear they are total strangers sitting way too close for comfort. Abel complains it is unfair that she knows his name while she has no idea who he is. She shrugs it off and says names do not matter when you just met, then starts throwing out wild ideas. She even suggests he might be some kind of spy sneaking into the academy, and she calls him suspicious for being out so late. They lock eyes in silence, both testing the other. Giamma looks uneasy, while she keeps a sharp, judging look like she is trying to read his real story. Giamma flips it back on her and asks what she is doing out here, and she acts like it is obvious she just finished training. He answers that he was working out too, then says his workout is basically breathing practice, which totally throws her off. He notices the scars on her hands, making Abel flinch. Then she jolts upright, suddenly embarrassed as she hides her hands. Giamma watches her stand there shivering in awkward silence, and she tries to recover when she hears Giamma's comment that her scares is proof of her working hard. Her thoughts drift to her grandpa, Siegfried, and the kind of pressure she grew up with. She explains that when you are expected to be perfect, even one small mistake makes you a target. Staring up at the night sky, she admits she lost to someone for the first time in her life. Then she lets out a small laugh like she cannot believe it happened. She says it was strangely freeing, but she still wants to meet the person who beat her and took the top spot. Giamma's face tightens because he knows exactly who that person is. When she adds that she wants to tear that person apart, Giamma straight up spits in shock. She snaps back at him for judging her, and he tries to ask if she really has to go that far. After venting, she realizes she just dumped her whole pride problem on a guy she barely met. But Giamma is curious why she's saying all these to him. Then she hits him with a blunt line, saying he looks weak, like it is just a simple fact. She explains her family motto is to be harsh to the strong and kind to the weak, and she admits she has no real friends because her classmates are unbearable. She stretches like nothing happened and says she is heading out. Giamma gives a lazy goodbye, but she pauses and looks back, clearly still annoyed that he will not give her his name. She demands his name again, and he refuses without blinking, which makes her explode in frustration. The next day, the story jumps to a noisy lecture hall full of students chatting like it is any normal class. Giamma sits alone with his book, acting calm, but he is totally on guard inside. He knows Tut Chloe has made friends and settled in fine, while Giamma has been busy avoiding her because she scares him. While Chloe is worried that Giamma is avoiding her, many people still treat Giamma like some odd special entrant. He says he has stopped caring and points out there are a few special entrants in the room, but they all avoid each other like it is some weird pride issue. Gioma is just thankful he was not placed in a higher tier class, because those places sound like a battlefield of egos. He remembers how shocking it was when he first played the game, like he had seen these kinds of faces before. He thinks about how he is finally eating real meals now, and he taps his desk while planning food like a normal student. He remembers Medea smiling as she hands over a special card that should have been his reward for being top scorer. The card shines in his hands, labeled like a big deal, and he feels both thankful and annoyed. He calls the whole thing mad respect, like this reward system is weirdly intense for a school. Plus, he can eat good meals now. Gioma pockets the card and decides to move forward with it, wearing a small, confident grin. For a moment, he looks like someone who finally has a plan. Then the story hard cuts into history, saying the Academy's roots go back hundreds of years. After the first human-demon war started, the hero Valor Joaquin created this academy with his 7 disciples to train the next generation. A teacher points to the chalkboard drawing of Valor Joaquin and tells everyone this will be on the exam. Gioma rests his head on his arm, thinking he already knows this stuff, so he barely acts interested. The chalk drawing of the hero feels cold and distant, like a myth carved in dust. Then the lesson slides into a grim story of war, a dark corridor, and the kind of power that leaves scars on history. The teacher talks about the commander of the First Legion, and the images show a brutal clash with the Demon Lord. The whole vibe screams that this piece was bought with real blood and fear. A streak of light cuts across a dark sky like a falling star, and then the screen turns into a blinding white flash. A figure is thrown through the air, swallowed by the blast, and the scene shifts to bodies and survivors on the ground. It is the kind of war memory that makes you understand why the Academy exists at all. Shadows of demons move through smoke and chaos, hunting in the aftermath. The whole point was to train the next generation, like the world never stopped needing heroes. Back in the lecture hall, the teacher explains a non-aggression pact was signed, creating 700 years of peace. Most students whisper that war sounds impossible now, but Gioma sits there quiet, because he knows that calm is fake. Gioma thinks he might be the only one who realizes the peace is about to break. In his mind, Medea appears again, relaxed and smiling, like she is already watching the future unfold. Gioma turns his sharp gaze toward her, uneasy about what she knows. Medea jokes around and flirts in a teasing way, even suggesting they run off together, which only makes him sweat harder. The thing is, Gioma knows that Medea will be the first to notice the demon's attack, and she will be the first of the 7 stars to join the front lines and save her students. Gioma remembers learning about Medea's fate from a game fandom wiki, like the cruelest spoiler possible. The screen shows the wiki page about her, and he clicks through it, stuck reading what is basically a death flag with extra steps. He is staring at the screen and calmly saying, "She dies," like it is just a fact. Gioma looks shaken, because knowing the ending does not make it easier. Medea stands alone in a spotlight in his memory, and he wishes he had never learned any of it. Then class ends, the teacher reminds everyone midterms are close, and the room starts to move again like normal life is still normal. As students start leaving, a sudden buzz spreads through the hall like something big just happened outside. People rush toward the noise, hurrying up to see what the commotion is. Gioma freezes, feeling like he already knows what is coming. He checks his phone, and the time hits him like a reminder that this is lining up with the story he remembers. Faces in the crowd go wide with shock as someone steps into view. A blonde student walks through the hallway, and everyone parts for him without even thinking. The name is Leon Van Reinhardt, and his presence changes the whole mood of the school. As he arrives, the story ends on a cracked wall and the message that everything is about to start falling apart. Leon strolls in like the main character everyone wrote fan posts about. People around him act amazed, and Gioma is watching can only think about how unfair it is that Leon gets all the attention. If this is an R-rated game, he thinks Leon will be drained out before he even fights the Demon King. In the game, the top girls that stick to Leon are all famous, rare, and scary strong. Watching the crowd follow him down the hall, Gioma can't help thinking he'd love to live Leon's life for just one day. Then reality kicks in. Leon being chosen to fight isn't some honor, it's basically forced service. And Gioma knows from experience that this kind of duty chews people up. He remembers how even a legendary hero could only barely seal a high-ranking demon, which makes the Demon King sound like a total nightmare. For a second, he even worries the story might end with the hero losing and everything going to trash. Leon smiles politely at students like it's no big deal, then his expression tightens when something catches his attention. Gioma freezes when Leon looks his way. Leon then flashes that perfect, shining smile, and it basically confirms everything people say about him. Gioma can only stare at him. He watches Leon and the group head up the stairs, and he tells himself that this protagonist will handle the big stuff, so he doesn't have to be worried. He's still thinking about Leon's face when someone calls out behind him. He turns, already nervous that he just got noticed for the wrong reason. Night hits, and we jump to the training hall. Gioma is in gym gear, practicing swings with a wooden sword, trying to figure out what his strange blessing actually works with. After a few tests, he realizes his blessing won't activate unless the weapon matches some strict rules. He goes quiet, because that kind of limitation can get you killed later. Earlier, Chloe walks up, looking unsure and worried, asking if she messed up. Gioma forces an awkward smile and acts like everything is fine, even though he's clearly shaken from almost getting wrecked earlier. He reassures her, and Chloe relaxes a little. But now he's staring at her like he just noticed she's not a normal, harmless classmate at all. Chloe's blade gives off this heavy, sad feeling, but at the same time, it's violent enough to raise goosebumps. She fidgets and nervously asks if she can make him dinner, and he just stands there like, wait, what? Chloe doubles down and says she really wants to cook for him. In his head, Gioma instantly imagines the darkest possible outcome, like accepting the offer is how you end up disappearing forever. Chloe's eyes are practically begging, and it hits him hard because turning her down feels cruel. Still, he's terrified that saying yes might be signing his own death note, so he chooses the safest route and asks for a different favor instead. He tells her she's the only one he can ask, which basically flips a switch in her yandere brain. Chloe blushes and leans in, excited to help. Gioma asks her to teach him how to use a sword, and you can tell he's using training as a shield to survive this whole situation. He grips the wooden sword like it's his lifeline, and decides this is actually a smart excuse. He even remembers those dumb late-night videos about dealing with scary, obsessed people, and he's grateful he paid attention. Chloe shows up fast, way too eager, with hearts floating around her like a romance filter. She claims she just got there too, but she's smiling like she's been waiting all day. She casually says a time that's way earlier than what they planned, and Gioma just stares. You can feel him thinking, okay, this is already getting weird. Chloe turns around to show off, still asking if she looks strange. Gioma only now notices how ripped and athletic she is under the casual outfit, which explains why her swings feel like getting hit by a truck. Trying not to show he is a creep, Gioma hands her a wooden sword and starts setting ground rules. Chloe looks confused and asks why they aren't using a real blade, like that's the normal option. He explains it's just training and they don't want anyone getting hurt, so wood is safer. Chloe reacts like he's being sweet and gentle, and her vibe gets creepy for a second while he panics inside. Chloe tests her grip and swings once. The air itself seems to split, and Gioma can literally hear the stick cutting through it, which is insane for a practice weapon. Gioma braces himself and finally triggers his blessing. A bright system-like screen pops up, and he checks the details again, desperate to find anything that will keep him alive. He wonders if blessings are always this annoying to manage, and he's irritated by the parts he still can't unlock. Chloe walks closer and notices that Gioma is staring at the air. Chloe peeks in, worried something is wrong. He quickly tells her she can't see it anyway, since it's basically his private blessing screen. He asks her one more time to be gentle because it's their first time. Chloe smiles and agrees, and Gioma starts tightening his grip. Gioma takes his stance and taps his sword like a starting signal. The hall goes quiet, both of them facing off, and the tension is way too real for practice. He narrows his eyes and focuses, trying to read her movement. A wooden blade whips through the air, and the sound alone says it's coming in hot. Chloe swings with a serious face, like she's in a real match. Gioma notes his hands are sweaty and his posture is shaky, but he's trying to keep his weapon aimed right. He's barely holding form when Chloe suddenly explodes forward. She closes the distance in an instant, and he only has time to react with pure instinct. Her strike comes in so sudden it feels unfair, and Gioma's eyes go wide. The hit slams down, and the shock of her speed is honestly terrifying. He realizes she's fast, like really fast, and his body stiffens. One sharp move later, his weapon is knocked loose, and his grip breaks at the worst time. They clash again, and Gioma blocks overhead, but the force rattles his arms. He's already hurting, and this is supposed to be the gentle version. He struggles to keep his guard up, teeth clenched, breath shaky. Chloe suddenly jumps, raising her sword for a follow-up like she's doing an aerial finisher. Gioma drops low and tries to reset his stance, but even then she gets faster. He forces a grim smile, like he's starting to realize he might need to fight seriously. Another heavy clash lands, and the wooden swords smash together with a brutal impact. A crack forms, and it's clear the weapons can't handle Chloe's strength. He slides back, feet scraping, and Chloe keeps pressing without pause. The exchange turns into a blur of blows, like she's throwing a whole combo chain non-stop. Gioma feels the weight behind every strike and knows one clean hit could end him for real. Then his wooden sword finally gives out, splintering mid-fight. The broken piece drops with a heavy thud, and both of them stop. Chloe looks stunned, then immediately apologizes, saying she tried to hold back and didn't expect it to break. Gioma stares at her, calling her name like he's trying to confirm she's even human. Chloe's expression shifts too, like she senses something changing around him. A blue notice flashes that a condition has been fulfilled, and then red warnings slam in right after. The system reacts to the broken weapon, and Gioma's body is hit by a strange surge. In the darkness, the blessing fully wakes up in a more dangerous form. Gioma stands there with a cold look. The fight hits that weird breaking point where the system itself starts screaming. 1 second it says the weapon condition is met, and the next it panics about damage and errors. Chloe stares in shock, sweating, because the guy in front of her doesn't look normal anymore. Gioma stands in the storm of dust and blue energy, clearly losing himself. Then the system drops another message about his morality going down, and it links to that creepy blessing again. Hard cut to Kim, snapping back into awareness under a bright spotlight, confused about where he is. He realizes he's in her kitchen, and he tries to convince himself it was just a dream. But the calm feels fake, like the dream is still running. Kim remembers he was about to prep a fish and decides to get back to work. He checks his tools and thinks about switching weapons, like he can cheat the situation by picking a different blade. That's the first mistake people always make with curses. The moment he tries, an error pops up saying the item can't be selected. Kim freezes because the system is basically telling him no. The screen floods with warnings and strange guidance pushing him toward one option. Kim questions it, but the messages keep forcing the same path like a scripted quest. The same warning loop keeps repeating, pressing him to continue and stop thinking. Kim keeps noticing the pattern, and the system keeps insisting everything is fine. That's the kind of gaslighting only a cursed interface can pull off. Now the puppet strings show up for real, looming hands above him while he holds the knife. Kim tries to hype himself up, but it feels like he's already being moved. Back in the arena, the title card drops, and that power is called an intrusion. Quickly, Gioma is seeing everything as Kim trying to slice a fish for a meal. Chloe calls out to Gioma and checks if he's okay. She's worried, but she's also starting to realize he might not even hear her. From far away, Gioma wobbles in the smoke like his balance is off. The wobble continues, and the silence stretches. Chloe doesn't know if he's hurt or if something else is steering him. A blue streak suddenly rockets across the ground. Chloe's eyes widen because whatever is moving is way faster than before. The blast of speed turns into a violent shockwave, ripping through the air. Gioma slams into Chloe's space like a monster on autopilot, and their weapons collide. The impact is nasty, and Chloe is instantly on defense. Close up on Chloe's face as she braces behind her wooden sword. She looks terrified because she's blocking something that doesn't feel human. A foot hits down with a heavy stomp, grounding the attack. Chloe tries to call him back, like saying his name will wake him up. Gioma swings and a bright slash tears forward. Even without a real blade, the pressure looks sharp enough to cut. The force blasts Chloe back across the floor, and Gioma ends up centered in a ring of cracked air. The same huge scene holds for another beat, showing how far she got thrown. Chloe gets launched hard, tumbling with her wooden sword still in hand. She's basically a rag doll for a second. Her face twists in panic and pain as she tries to regain control. She's shocked because Gioma usually pulls his hits, and now he's not. Chloe thinks it feels like he became a completely different person. That's the scary truth of it, because she's not wrong. Gioma leaps again and drives an attack into the ground like he's hunting her down. The motion looks clean, but it's way too ruthless. Chloe skids and drops to a knee, catching herself with a rough landing. She's hurting, but she refuses to collapse. Gioma's eyes glow with that cold light as he breathes heavy. He looks like he's fighting something inside, or maybe he already lost. Chloe plants her wooden sword into the floor to steady herself and admits she's strained herself dodging. She's realizing she can't keep reacting forever. Shaking, Chloe tries to understand what happened to him and considers ending the training. It's the first time she seriously thinks she might not be safe near him. She coughs and calls his name again, asking him to stop. Her voice is desperate now, not just worried. Gioma lunges forward with his hand out, closing the distance instantly. From Chloe's view, his hand fills the frame while she stands there trembling. Even the air feels tight, like she's trapped. Chloe begs him to come back to his senses and keeps repeating his name. She's trying to anchor him with the one thing that's real to both of them. A glowing strike drops straight down like a pillar, and Chloe flinches under it. The attack is so direct it looks like punishment. The same vertical blow hangs for another moment, showing just how close it came. Chloe is inches away from getting wrecked. Kim flashes again, confused and unsettled, like his mind is bouncing between two realities. He can feel something is wrong, but he can't name it yet. Kim sees the fish somehow dodging the knife, and he's baffled. He's never seen food act like it's alive and trying to survive. The kitchen grows loud in his head, and he thinks he hears a name calling out. He tries to ignore it, but the sound keeps pushing in. The whispers turn into a clear, repeated call, and Kim awkwardly tries to say the name out loud. Kim's memory clicks and he starts to piece together who he is connected to. The knife gleams, and the situation feels less like cooking and more like a ritual. A student in uniform stands in the kitchen holding the blade, with red lines fluttering around him like strings. He's still, but the air around him feels hostile. He reacts to the call of that name, his eyes widening. The buzzing sound makes it feel like the curse just got a signal. Chloe, battered and standing firm, shouts Gioma's name with everything she has. That shout lands like a slap to the curse. Gioma's eyes shift, like he's suddenly hearing her through the noise. For the first time, there's a crack in that cold mask. Gioma's wooden sword smashes down, slamming into something with a heavy thump. The broken wooden piece spins away into the air while Chloe and Gioma move past each other. The weapon leaving her hand feels symbolic, like she's cutting the moment short. Chloe's face softens, tears forming as she realizes she got through to him. She's relieved, but still shaken. Her eyes widen again as she searches Gioma's expression for proof he's back. She's scared of getting fooled by a calm that isn't real. Gioma raises his fist like he might hit, but then stops, controlling it. He signals to end things here. Chloe blushes, stunned that he lightly nudged her instead of crushing her. She checks on him, still worried, but also confused by the gentleness. Gioma turns and waves like it's no big deal, saying he'll head out first. Chloe watches him walk away through the doorway, holding herself like she's cold. She doesn't chase him because she's still trying to process what she saw. Outside, storm clouds rumble over the academy building. The weather matches the mood, like the whole place knows something is off. Chloe walks alone, slow and thoughtful, replaying everything since the class placement exam. She's connecting dots she didn't want to connect. She thinks Gioma's combat skill feels beyond strength, almost eerie. And she remembers that terrifying version of him from the fight. A red tangled mess of lines fills the frame like a cursed diagram. Chloe swings her wooden sword with clean form, showing she's serious about training. Even when she's scared, she still moves forward. She points out that Gioma fought with a half-broken wooden sword. And somehow, that pathetic weapon still looked deadly in his hands. Chloe walks and thinks she knew he was strong, but not like this. Then she senses someone watching her from the shadows. Her eyes sharpen as she notices a presence. Nox Auditore appears, leaning against a wall with a mask on, acting like he's above everything. He calls her in a familiar way that instantly annoys her. Chloe faces him and says his name flatly. She's not scared of him, just tired of his attitude. Nox mocks her for spending time with a commoner and acts like it's a joke. He's the type who thinks status is a weapon. Chloe tells him not to insult Gioma. Her tone is firm because even after getting wrecked, she still chooses respect. Nox asks if that's Gioma's name and then warns her that the auditories will eliminate him if she stays close. Chloe shuts her eyes, swallowing anger and worry at the same time. She knows he might be telling the truth, and that's the worst part. She states that even the whole auditory family wouldn't be enough to beat Gioma. Nox shifts his stance, the confidence wobbling for a second. Hearing his family dismissed like that clearly hits a nerve. He repeats the name Gioma like he's testing it, trying to understand what kind of person could cause this. Back to Gioma again, now acting like his past self with a knife in hand, standing by a table. Kim remembers looking for a new weapon to break free from the situation. But even the choice of weapons feels like another trap. He holds a shining blade in darkness, surrounded by shadowy smoke. It looks like power, but also like bait. The puppet hands return, strings pulling Kim's body like he's not in control. He realizes the curse has been using him as a doll. Gioma's face hardens as the words slash and cut echo in his mind. He's trying to fight back, but the curse speaks in commands. He admits he gave in and let it consume him, and the red strings flare like proof. This is the moment he hates himself the most. He remembers Chloe looking pained, still shaken by how close she came to disaster. Yet despite that, she tried to wake him up. Chloe is shown clearly with her name emphasized. She's not just a side character in Gioma's arc anymore. Kim reflects that Chloe caused the wooden sword to break, and he was angry but grateful. He decides to forgive her with a small nudge and leaves in a hurry, afraid the blessing might trigger again. The question hangs. Can he keep avoiding it forever? Gioma imagines himself surrounded by raging black flames, calling it a power he was forced to carry. It doesn't look like a gift, it looks like a burden that burns from the inside. Gioma stumbles on a staircase, wobbling like he's losing strength. Even after resisting, the after effects still chase him. He lies back, eyes half closed, like he's trying to breathe through the pressure. Hands crack open a bright gap in the dark, like a seal breaking. A towering purple curse form appears, saying it wants to devour him, a power from the abyss. Chloe sits with a classmate who is hyped about some show, while Chloe plays it cool and says she will check it later. You can tell her mind is somewhere else. Close up on Chloe's face, and yeah, she is clearly thinking hard. She glances around the room, watching the empty seats, and sees that Gioma still hasn't come to school. Chloe realizes something basic but painful. She never even got his contact, and now she is stuck with regret. We get a flashback. She went to his door before but only heard him crying inside. She wanted to help, but fear froze her in place. Back in class, she watches him from afar and admires the way he looks when he is deep in thought. She admits she has been stealing glances all the time, but she is too nervous to speak, worried she will look weird. The scene of Gioma saving her from Shun and Jun crosses her mind. At first, she thought she fell for him because he saved her, but that seems to be an excuse now. Chloe finally admits it to herself. She misses him, even if she cannot say it out loud in a real way. The next day comes, and the mood outside the school is gloomy and grey. In class, Wonbin slams down order and demands silence. The room snaps into attention fast. He keeps scolding them to act like proper students of a top school. No more chatting, just study. Class officially begins, and everyone answers like soldiers. Then the door gets hit with a loud thud. Wonbin turns furious, ready to roast whoever dared interrupt. But Wonbin's expression changes in an instant. He looks shocked, like he just saw something he cannot believe. A tall figure walks down the stairs in the lecture hall. Students turn and stare, and the air gets heavy. We focus on the slow steps coming down the stairs. A sharp close-up shows a black-haired guy with cold eyes. It's Gioma. He keeps walking down with that straight posture and clenched fists. He finally speaks politely and apologizes for being late. Even his apology feels like a blade. Wonbin, sweating now, tells him to take a seat. The other students whisper about the special entrant, saying he looks different and even kind of handsome now. Rumors spread instantly, as always. Wide shot of the room shows whispers everywhere. Even with the lecture going, Gioma's entrance has hijacked the whole vibe. Gioma stares forward, not reacting to the attention. He looks like he is listening to something nobody else can hear. Once class breaks, students start talking about lunch plans. It is that quick switch from fear to normal teen life. Chloe suddenly freezes because Gioma is right there. The way she says his name shows she is shocked and relieved at the same time. Chloe asks if something happened to him, and he brushes it off like it is nothing. But her eyes show she does not buy it. She admits she was worried because he was gone for days, and wonders if it was because of their training. Gioma goes quiet, looking away like he is trying not to show anything. That silence says more than words. Then he thanks her for worrying. It is small, but it hits Chloe like a critical hit. Chloe's face goes full heart eyes mode, like her brain just short-circuited. Her feelings are way too obvious now. Gioma seems to notice her awkwardness and thinks she does not believe him. The moment feels sweet, but also sad. We cut to Gioma's nightmare week. He was shaking in bed like he was going through brutal withdrawal, completely wrecked. He locked himself in his room, couldn't eat, couldn't move, just waiting for the convulsions to stop. The story points to a broken weapon and the cost of using power through it. Whatever he tapped into was far worse than anything before. He looked in the mirror and saw how cold and distant he'd become. Even his hair started turning white, like the curse was carving him up. The penalty for using that cursed blessing hits him like non-stop pain. He is clutching his head, barely holding himself together. Back to the present, Gioma notices Chloe looks guilty. He reads her emotions fast and decides she needs help. Chloe fumbles, trying to act normal, but she is clearly struggling. She wants to fix things, even if she does not know how. Gioma brings up her past dinner invite and suggests doing it today. He is giving her a clean chance to reset the relationship. Chloe is stunned, then gets instantly excited. The emotional whiplash hits her like a truck. She says yes with her whole soul, basically promising to do her best cooking. Gioma stands there, calm, letting her be happy. Gioma quietly thinks her mood just got way better. They talk about what to eat, and he brings up last time he ate her food and got sick. The same moment hangs again like an echo, because that memory matters. Something about it triggers danger in the background. Gioma turns his head sharply like he sensed someone. Close up on Gioma's eyes as he locks onto a threat. His face turns serious like a switch flipped. Both of them look toward the hall, confused by the sudden chill. Chloe asks what is wrong, but she can tell it is not normal. Knox is leaning near a door like he owns the place. He is watching them with that predator stillness. Knox then smirks behind the mask, eyes glowing in a creepy way. Chloe and Gioma both stiffen, realizing they are being targeted. The shock hits Chloe first, and Gioma stays guarded. Chloe admits she knows him with a nervous nod. That alone tells Gioma this is personal and serious. Gioma's expression hardens while someone nearby snaps something shut. Gioma steps up and tells Knox to stop staring and say what he wants. Gioma is calm, but the vibe is clearly fight-ready. Close up on Knox's eyes glowing red. He looks like he is judging Gioma, like prey on a menu. Chloe tries to wave it off and tells Gioma not to worry because it is her brother. She also snaps at her brother for showing up at all. Gioma processes the word brother while Chloe yells at him with a shaky voice. She is brave, but also scared deep down. Knox looks down on Gioma and calls him weak, then shames Chloe for breaking rules to be with him. Chloe snaps back hard and says she doesn't care anymore. Her brother fires back with heavy words about blood and legacy like a cursed family speech. Gioma internally roasts them a bit, thinking Chloe sounds like a total weeb while the brother talks like a historical drama villain. Knox demands Chloe leave and return to their clan, calling Gioma lowborn. Chloe starts to protest, but the pressure is crushing. Chloe explodes, telling him not to insult Gioma. The brother's bloodlust spikes, and the noise of it scratches the air. Gioma realizes the word auditore and remembers what it means. His face turns sharp like he just unlocked a hidden file in his head. In this world, the auditore specialize in infiltration and assassination. Basically, stealth murder experts. They are not always the best in direct fights, but in covert missions, they are unmatched. That is a scary kind of power. A stat-style screen sums it up in gamer terms. The family members are absurdly strong, like their whole bloodline is built for killing. Gioma compares the siblings in his head like he is doing a tier list. The brother is obviously dangerous, and Chloe is trying to act normal, but it is not working. Knox gives off a vibe that he would kill without hesitation. Not just willing, but experienced. Gioma thinks about how the auditores remove threats to keep order, and admits he does not really mind killing if the reason is good. That is a wild confession. Back in the hall, Gioma watches Chloe and the brother, staying quiet. He looks like he is already planning what to do next. Chloe grits her teeth and bleeds a little at the lip, forcing herself to stand strong. She is terrified, but she is not backing down. We see Chloe's truth. Like Gioma's blessing, she had no choice either. She was born into a family of assassins, and the blade life was forced on her. Chloe stands alone in a dark, dramatic space, and the word tragic basically sums her life up. She is smiling on the outside, but the shadow shows the pain. Gioma lets out a bitter laugh and questions what he is even doing. He admits he cannot save the world, but he can still act. Gioma calls the masked guy by name, Knox. That name drop proves Gioma understands exactly who is in front of him. Nox thinks about how he tried to run from the blessing but failed, quoting some edgy comic line about having no paradise to escape to. So Gioma steps closer to Nox. Gioma introduces himself with a dark meaning to his name and tells them to follow him. Then he straight up says he will cut someone, which is insane for a school hallway. Someone barges in, and a silver-haired person casually greets Wonbin. They joke that his head looks emptier than usual, which is savage. Wonbin tells them not to make fun of bald people. The other person laughs it off, but Wonbin is clearly not in the mood. Wonbin is on the phone and introduces himself properly as the Wolf class instructor. The silver-haired person keeps thinking his fake hair look is kind of cute, which is wild timing. Wonbin hears the request and freaks out, repeating the word subspace. He demands to know who asked for this. He gets told the request is for Gioma and Nox. Wonbin stays on the phone, frozen in shock. Wonbin's face basically screams, "This is going to be a disaster." A bright door of light opens in a cold hallway, like the arena is calling someone in. The display board lights up with the match info and the timer hits 0, so the waiting is done. Gioma sits alone, counting down the last minutes in his head, remembering warnings that this fight will hurt the mind even if the body heals. He tells himself it does not matter how scary it gets, because the only plan is to win. That thought keeps looping, like he is trying to glue his nerves back together before stepping out. From the hallway, the loud cheering leaks through the walls, and it feels way bigger than a school event. Gioma stands up with a heavy sigh, annoyed that he tried to stay unnoticed but still got dragged into a spotlight. Chloe suddenly shows up crying her eyes out, and Gioma freezes because he has no idea how to handle that. He realizes she blames herself, so he calms her down and tells her this is not on her. Then he gets goofy for a second and flashes the rose knife she lent him, acting like it is a lucky charm that guarantees victory. Gioma answers back with confidence, basically saying Chloe is strong too, so he is not backing down. Chloe explains how her brother is treated like some legendary genius assassin, the kind people hype up with ridiculous titles. Gioma hears the title and looks dead inside, like he cannot believe anyone says stuff like that with a straight face. He stares at the rose knife in his hand and accepts the truth that this path keeps pulling him toward blades. A memory hits hard, like his master is telling him his fate is knives for life, and it sticks like a curse. An announcement calls the fighters to the training grounds, and both of them tense up because it is time. Gioma stands and starts walking out with the knife, telling Chloe he will come back, while she answers weakly. Chloe watches him go, biting her lip and trying not to look terrified. Gioma pauses and calls her name again, and she snaps her attention to him like she needs one last bit of courage. He tells her that geniuses are everywhere, but the point is not the hype. It is what you do right now, and he gives her a gentle pat. Chloe's eyes widen as Gioma tightens his grip, and the blade catches the light like a promise. In his head, he locks onto one simple rule for today. He will always win. Gioma assures Chloe he'll be fine. He walks toward the light with a calm smile, holding the knife low like he has done this before. The doorway glows like a portal. The screen turns into pure white as the cheering gets louder, like the whole place is swallowing him. Gioma raises a hand to block the glare, eyes narrowing as the new space loads in around him. He lands in a huge coliseum under a blue sky, standing with two knives like a duelist on a grand stage. The crowd goes wild, screaming for the special entrant, and everybody is hungry for drama. Gioma laughs nervously and admits this feels like a gladiator fight, way bigger than he expected. He looks up at the stands and senses attention shifting, like strong people are watching him now. He realizes the star class is here too, and that makes the pressure jump up another level. Up in the seats, Leon sits serious. Abel watches with sharp eyes, and the other heroines are amused, like this is free entertainment for them. Abel's golden eyes narrow, studying Gioma like she is trying to measure him in one glance. Down below, Gioma feels the crowd is doing too much, like they showed up with popcorn for someone else's life. Then a rude voice cuts through the noise, calling him a peasant and acting like this match is a joke. Nox leans in with glowing eyes, giving off the kind of killing intent that makes your skin crawl. That bloodlust explodes outward like a dark storm, and even the air looks corrupted around them. Gioma stays calm but takes it seriously, thinking this guy is dangerous in a way that is not normal. Gioma mocks him lightly, like a pro who refuses to blame gear or excuses, and Nox gets even more annoyed. Nox finally stops talking and draws twin glowing blades, his aura swelling like a monster waking up. Gioma notices the equipment right away and judges it as top tier, which is bad news for a fair fight. The weapon name flashes like a title card, the S-rank weapon, Crimson Edge, making it clear this is high-rank gear meant to dominate. Nox steps forward with both blades, acting like he already owns the arena. Then the pressure suddenly drops, and Gioma realizes the guy can hide that bloodlust whenever he wants. Gioma decides if the other guy is going all out, then he will too, even if his own knives look cheap in comparison. A floating crystal signals the start as a subspace barrier forms, locking them in like a sealed boss room. Both of them stare each other down in silence, the kind where one blink can get you killed. Up in the stands, the Star class focuses, like they know the barrier means the real fight starts now. The barrier fully activates with a bright pulse, and the arena feels like it tightens around them. They rush each other at the same time, blades raised, meeting in the middle like two bullets colliding. System messages flash as skills trigger, and metal claps hard enough to echo through the Colosseum. Gioma swings with a sharp, clean strike, eyes locked in like he is done playing nice. The spectators can barely process what happened, only knowing it looked impossible. The crowd complains they cannot see anything because the fighters are too fast, and they start questioning how Gioma is ordinary at all. Blades clash in a blur, purple and blue streaks tearing through the air like neon lightning. The same exchange keeps chaining, a storm of clashes where one mistake would end it instantly. In the stands, Abel stays serious while her friend Rachel looks interested, like she just found a new toy to watch. Abel thinks back to how weak Gioma looked before, and she cannot match that image with what she sees now. Nox slams in with a heavy strike, trying to crush Gioma's defense with force. Gioma twists away at the last second, dodging with clean footwork, while the purple slash carves through empty space. The enemy blade screeches across the ground, throwing sparks and leaving a nasty mark like it cut the floor itself. The masked fighter unleashes a wide spinning combo, purple arcs stacking like a blender made of swords. The arena floor cracks from the impact, and even the crowd reacts like they felt the hit. Nox curses and jumps in again, sure the next attack will finally tag Gioma. A named technique flashes as a huge purple wave surges forward, like a cursed bird swooping down. The purple blast tears through the space and detonates, filling the arena with violent energy. For a split second, the masked fighter thinks he caught him, like the hit is guaranteed. But Gioma slips through the chaos and skids out, leaving only a trail of motion. Nox's eyes widen in shock because he cannot believe Gioma is still standing clean. Gioma steps forward calmly, almost disrespectful, while the masked fighter looks smaller in the background. Gioma glances back over his shoulder, cool and unreadable, like he is deciding when to end it. Some spectators try to analyze it, saying the older student is attacking while the younger one only dodges, missing the real story. Abel sees clearer than the crowd, noticing Gioma is slipping past every blow with zero panic, like he does not even want to fight yet. Nox gets frustrated, realizing even his best speed-based blessing is not enough to touch Gioma. Gioma finally admits his knives are heavy and decides he needs a stronger, wider hit to finish this safely. Nox grips his weapon tighter, angry that Gioma is lasting this long with basic kitchen knives. Gioma's blade drops and clangs on the floor, and the sudden mistake shocks everyone watching. Nox blurts out in confusion, like he cannot understand what just happened to his control. Gioma's hand slides onto the rose-patterned handle again, smooth and steady, like he is done holding back. He locks both hands around the rose knife, body set in a powerful stance, ready to swing for real. The air distorts again as the pressure rises, and even Nox pauses, sensing something is wrong. Gioma's eye shines under his bangs. Nox snaps into rage and powers up hard, flooding the arena with red intensity to overwhelm Gioma. That killing intent keeps surging, louder and louder, because he cannot accept being toyed with. Nox's aura spikes again, like his anger is now the fuel for his next move. His eyes glow bright as he commits to a finishing blow, convinced nothing can stop it. Gioma's thoughts crash in as he charges toward Nox, remembering all the times he tried to stay low profile, like fate keeps dragging him into the cannon route. He accepts there is no escape, so the only answer is to break through, even if it means showing what he really is. Even now, he thinks that the blessing of the sword god is a curse that forces him to participate in the game's story. The glass in his head cracks. He accepts there's no escaping now. A glowing blade rises, framed like a final move, the kind that makes the whole screen feel sharp. In the next moment, Nox bids goodbye to his right arm. His expression changes to pure disbelief, like he suddenly cannot even track where Gioma went. Nox cannot believe it. His body is already screaming internally in pain just looking at his now non-existent arms. Gioma bursts forward, wrapped in blue energy, cutting through the dark storm behind him like he is the calm center of a hurricane. All that in a fraction of a second. The crowd stares with wide eyes, finally realizing they are watching something way above their level. Leon's face turns serious because even he can tell this fight just changed into something dangerous and real. In silhouette, the two fighters separate for a heartbeat, like the world pauses right before the result lands. Gioma does not celebrate at all, only watching with the same steady eyes. The aftermath hits. The hand lies on the ground in blood, while Nox stands frozen, and Gioma remains in the distance with blue sparks fading. The next slash lands hard, and the impact is so sharp it feels Nox's face disappears. From above, the arena looks like it got hit by a shockwave, with smoke spreading out in a big ring. Up in the stands, the students go stiff, swallowing their fear because they know that was not normal. Down on the floor, Nox is on one knee, while Gioma stands calm with a glowing blade like it's just another day. Gioma casually locks his grip like he is resetting his stance after a warm-up. Abel and Rachel stare down from the side, both shocked in their own way. Gioma turns away through the drifting smoke, not even trying to look cool, but somehow looking cooler. A system notice confirms the match is over, and Gioma scratches his head like the whole thing was annoying. In profile, Gioma stays quiet, thinking through what he just did instead of celebrating. He points out how convenient the subspace tech is, since it kept the damage contained for both sides. Nox shakes, sweating under the mask, because losing like that messes with his pride. Gioma admits Nox is strong and experienced, the kind of fighter who has seen real battles. But Gioma also thinks Nox's killing intent made him easy to predict, and Gioma credits his own blessing for staying ahead. The scoreboard declares the winner, and it hits the crowd that a first year just took down a second year. Gioma stands there while everyone whispers, treating him like some wild new legend who showed up out of nowhere. Gioma gives a small, tired smile, like he knows the trouble is only starting. He looks up at the floating crystal and decides he just has to keep pushing forward from here. The story shifts to a hallway near the star class, where rumors spread that Gioma is actually an auditor. Students connect the dots, saying that explains his strength, and they also hype up the guy who beat Nox even more. Abel sits by the window, hearing Gioma's name and pretending it does not bother her. It does. From outside the window, Abel admits it shocked her how fast everyone started talking about him. A dramatic flashback angle shows Nox looming while Gioma faces him, reminding us how one-sided the ending felt. Abel remembers seeing someone down and bleeding, and the memory makes her eyes widen. Her pupils tighten, because that fight just broke the rules she thought the world followed. A quick, stylized shock shot hits, like her thoughts crack apart for a second. What's more, she knows that Gioma did all that with 2 basic kitchen knives. Abel, who grew up around blades and pride, admits she never thought simple weapons could look that scary. She jolts in her seat, like her body finally caught up to her mind. Another memory flashes. Abel once talked big about hunting down whoever beat her, just to tear them apart. The flashback talks about her grandfather, the kind of family pressure that makes kids grow up sharp and cold. Back in the present, Abel realizes she is not even sure who the top scorer really is, and that uncertainty rattles her. High chance that it is Gioma. She slams her hands on the desk, freaking out because she thinks she must have looked clueless. Rachel finally notices Abel acting weird, tilting her head like she smells a secret. Abel tries to laugh it off and tells Rachel it is nothing, but her face is doing a terrible job of selling that. Rachel leans in, teasing Abel and saying she can tell something's up no matter what excuse Abel uses. Abel crosses her arms and denies it, while Rachel keeps pushing, acting like she is solving a mystery show. Rachel guesses random reasons, like maybe Abel is hungry, and Abel instantly shuts that down. Rachel tries another guess, like Abel forgot her weapon, and Abel again says no without blinking. Rachel goes even more random, asking if Abel needs the bathroom, and Abel gets annoyed at the whole interrogation. Then Rachel drops the real guess. Abel is acting like it is about a boy. Hearing that, Abel freezes like she got hit with a stun spell. Abel blushes hard, and Rachel smiles like she just landed a critical hit. Rachel starts joking that even Lady Abel has a soft side, acting like this is the best gossip of the year. She points and laughs, way too proud of herself for calling it. Rachel asks who the lucky guy is, while Abel looks away, stiff and embarrassed. Rachel claims whoever stole Abel's heart must be special, and she starts guessing like it is a quiz. Her first guess is Leon, and she even admits he has the kind of face people fall for, considering he's the protagonist. Rachel realizes Abel is strangely hostile toward Leon, so she starts thinking the answer must be connected to the duel. She brings up the special entrant from yesterday, and Abel's eyes sharpen like she's cornered. Rachel springs up and points, and Abel flinches because Rachel is getting way too close to the truth. Rachel's smile turns scary cute, like she just found a new toy. She grabs Abel and announces they are going to wolf class, not asking for permission at all. Rachel squeezes Abel's wrist and drags her along, while Abel stumbles and protests in panic. Rachel marches forward, basically declaring they are going straight to wolf class right now. A sign shows they reach the wolf class area. Rachel bursts in with a big greeting, while Abel gets pulled behind her, looking like she wants to vanish. The wolf class students react in real time, choking on drinks and gasping because Rachel is a walking disaster, in a lot of ways. Rachel stomps in like she owns the place, while Abel tries to tell her to stop before this gets worse. Rachel literally steps on a desk to get higher, because of course she does. From the top of the desk, she declares she's going to find the black-haired boy, like she is calling out a target. A nervous student tries to complain about her standing on someone's desk, but his voice has zero power here. Rachel flashes a smug pose and basically says she is pretty, so the rules do not apply, and the poor guy folds immediately. Abel facepalms in shame while other girls giggle, treating Abel's suffering like free entertainment. Rachel suddenly lights up and claims she found him, looking way too happy about it. Across the room, Chloe sits near a sleeping Gioma, and she starts assuming she must be his girlfriend. Rachel does not care about that at all, and in her head it just makes this whole thing even more fun. Rachel steps down the desk and took the stairs to visit Gioma. 1 second, Chloe is giggling with Gioma, and the next, Chloe's mood shifts like she senses trouble. Rachel leans in close toward Gioma, getting right into his space like she is testing boundaries. She messes with him while he is slumped over, blowing to his ears, and Chloe girl looks on like she is ready to throw hands. Abel and Chloe snap to attention, like the moment is too stupid to be real. They cannot believe what Rachel just did. Rachel drops down with a dismissive attitude, like she already won whatever game she is playing. Gioma finally lifts his head, confused and half awake, not understanding why his life turned into a rom-com ambush. Rachel strikes a full glam pose on the desk, acting like this is her entrance scene in an idol anime. And she's clearly seducing Gioma in front of Chloe. She calls Gioma by name, and Gioma just stares at her with pure question marks. Rachel reaches toward him, getting even closer, and Gioma starts to sweat because this is getting weird fast. Just then, Chloe grabs Rachel's wrist, demanding to know who she is and why she is touching him. In the middle of class, Chloe suddenly grabs Rachel's wrist. Rachel looks back like, "Oh, you want to play?" Chloe's eyes go wide and wild, and you can tell she's grinding her teeth inside. That scary mode is back, and everyone who knows her is already worried. Rachel just smiles with those heart-shaped eyes, like she's having fun. Gioma rushes in and recognizes Chloe's current mood right away, realizing this is the danger he felt. Chloe tilts her head with that broken look, still asking who Rachel even is. Then people notice the box cutter in Chloe's hand, and the vibe gets way darker. Gioma's face tightens, annoyed and nervous at the same time. He can tell this is going to be a headache he did not ask for. Abel grabs Rachel and tries to pull her away from Chloe. Rachel acts like she's only there to say hi, which is the weakest excuse ever. Rachel's eyes zoom in, hearts glowing like she found a new toy. Rachel steps forward and starts patting Chloe's head like she's a little kid. She also points out the blade and treats it like a simple bad habit to fix. Rachel keeps that same gentle patting, but the mood is still tense. Chloe's hand keeps shaking around the cutter like she might snap any second. Rachel turns to Gioma, but the blade still rattles in Chloe's grip behind her. A sharp flash cuts the air as Chloe unleashes a slash. Gioma and Abel both look shocked, realizing things almost got out of hand. Rachel whips her head around, ponytail snapping like a warning flag. Close up on Rachel's hard eyes, and you can see her excitement spike. Then a drink explodes across the scene, splashing everywhere in a dramatic mess. Two guys in the seats react to the spill, one warning the other. The lecture hall shakes with tension, and people start snapping at each other to shut up. Everyone can feel something is wrong, even if they don't get why. Back on the stairs, Rachel clamps down on Chloe's wrist and crushes her strength with zero effort. Chloe struggles and the cutter slips from her control. Abel yells for Rachel to stop, finally losing her cool. She's trying to keep this from becoming a real incident. Rachel pauses and stares, looking bored for a second. It's like she's deciding how much trouble she wants today. She flicks Chloe away like she weighs nothing, and Chloe goes flying through the air. Chloe's eyes widen mid-flight, realizing she can't stop herself. For once, she looks more shocked than angry. Chloe twists in the air and lands in a crouch, using skill to save herself from a full crash. The crowd loses it, screaming like they just saw a tournament match start. Gioma stays quiet, but you can tell he's fed up. Rachel stretches her arms like she's warming up, and the story drops her title and family background. As the Spear Saint's niece, she's the kind of noble who believes raw strength beats technique. No contest. Rachel turns back to Gioma and teases him, implying Chloe must be his girlfriend. Gioma shuts it down instantly, flat as a brick wall. The worst he can say is no. But even while he denies it, Gioma's body screams to not look at Chloe's aura. Rachel presses him again, and Gioma finally labels Chloe as just a friend. Rachel laughs it off like she doesn't believe a word. The hall is full of whispers, students watching the trio on the stairs like it's free entertainment. Chloe stays down below, still simmering. Abel realizes she got dragged into chaos and didn't even notice right away. That's how fast Rachel hijacked the whole room. Gioma asks why Abel and Rachel even came looking for him. He sounds annoyed, like this whole thing is wasting his time. Rachel says Abel seemed interested in him, so they came to visit. She says it like it's normal, even though Abel looks uncomfortable. Abel panics and denies she ever said that, embarrassed out of her mind. Rachel basically admits she dragged Abel along and took silence as permission. Abel freezes mid-protest when she realizes people are watching. She's stuck between anger and shame. From above, the students whisper about whether they're fighting or flirting. Abel tries to clear things up, saying they misunderstood each other and she never wanted to come. Gioma tells her to leave if that's the case. No mercy. Gioma sighs and rubs his head, saying he's sleepy and done with this. He tells them to get moving, like he's kicking them out of his life. Rachel and Abel both react, surprised by how cold he stays. Rachel even looks amused. Rachel suddenly leans in and hugs up close, telling Gioma he's interesting. Gioma calls himself boring, but she's not buying it. Rachel squeezes tighter and invites him to Netflix and chill. Gioma stays silent, looking like he wants to teleport away. Chloe snaps from below and charges in, furious that Rachel is all over Gioma. Rachel turns her head like, "Oh, so you're the jealous type." Rachel laughs hard at the way Chloe claims him, treating it like comedy gold. Gioma, meanwhile, just looks exhausted and wants to go home. Abel's aura flares, and she finally steps in with real pressure aimed at Rachel. Even Rachel flinches a little because Abel is serious now. Rachel backs off, still mocking as she says goodbye. Gioma tells her not to come back, and she acts offended but clearly entertained. Rachel waves with hearts floating around like she's leaving a fan meeting. Chloe growls in the background, while Gioma basically begs them to get out of his sight. Rachel and Abel walk away, and Gioma slumps down in his seat like his soul left his body. Chloe stands there stunned, still repeating that weird possessive word in her head. Abel stops and turns back, looking like she wants to say something. She's not done thinking about what just happened. She's analyzing Gioma, and she doesn't like what she's feeling. Abel stands in a bright, empty-feeling space, staring back at him like she's meeting a mystery. Gioma sits there quiet, unaware Abel is thinking of him. Abel's face tightens as she studies him. Abel's hair and ribbon move as she turns away, still thinking. She looks unsettled, like she found a clue she didn't want. The scene pulls wide, showing Abel leaving the hall as the title hits like a stamp on the moment. Outside by tall windows, Rachel and Abel are seen walking through the building. Even in the distance, Rachel still looks like she's having the time of her life. Rachel admits she didn't expect Gioma to be like that. His cold attitude surprised her, but it also made her more curious. Rachel, alone in his thoughts, admits he felt something faint coming from Gioma's eyes. Not her strength, but something else that gave him a bad feeling. Rachel touches her lips with a sly smile, saying that feeling gave her chills too. Dark, creepy shapes loom behind Rachel like laughing masks, showing her twisted imagination. She decides she might have found something worth chasing, and she even thinks about her family's marriage politics. Rachel's smile widens as she licks her lips. Now, she decided he'll make Gioma her husband. Abel walks beside her, quiet and tense, not liking where Rachel's thoughts are going. She's clearly worried about Gioma getting targeted. Rachel spins around to Abel and throws out a fake apology. She treats the whole mess like a prank that went a little far. Abel sighs and tells her to apologize to the class they disturbed, not to her. Then she cuts herself off, realizing that is not even the real problem. Abel looks at her hand as she hears Rachel's true apology. Rachel steps in close again and says she can't let Abel have him. The words land like a challenge, and Abel looks stunned. Hard cut to a hospital corridor, and Knox is there in a gown with a mask, pushing an IV stand like it's a weapon. He keeps repeating that he'll kill Gioma. Knox rants about never losing and being the genius of the family. His pride is so huge, it's basically its own villain. He storms down the hallway under harsh lights, still shaking with rage. The IV stand clacks and rattles as he marches like a maniac. Gioma appears in this memory-like scene, calm and unreadable, while Knox looks terrified and sweaty. Just seeing Gioma flips Knox's confidence into panic. Knox shoves a patient out of the way and keeps running, not caring who he hurts. The hallway stretches long as Knox charges forward, thinking about calling his whole family to take Gioma down. Cut back to Chloe in the dark, eyes steady but dangerous. She looks like she's making a choice she can't take back. Knox reaches a door and pushes it open, ready to strike. He peers through the crack and the mood turns eerie with that one word hanging in the air. As he opens the door, Knox realizes he walked into Gioma's pace, not his own. Inside the room, Gioma sits by a hospital bed eating an apple like it's a normal day. He looks up at Knox like, "Ah, you finally showed up." The stare down continues, and the silence is louder than any shout. Knox wanted a hunt, but it's clear he might be the one being hunted. Chloe sits at her desk, mumbling to herself while nibbling on something. She's gripping a small knife like it's homework season and someone insulted her crush. Gioma watches her from nearby and stays calm, but he also calls out the obvious problem. She started this mess first by pulling a knife earlier. Chloe's thoughts spiral fast. She's fixated on what Gioma likes, aka Rachel's bosom, and starts talking like she might do something extreme. Gioma says her name and snaps her back to reality. Chloe jolts, still half stuck in her weird thoughts. Chloe forces a sweet smile and acts friendly, but Gioma's sweat drop says it all. He carefully tells her to put the knife down because he does not want to be today's headline. Gioma changes the topic hard and asks about Knox, hoping to defuse the situation. Chloe pauses, and that pause is loud. Chloe goes quiet, lips pressed tight, like she's picking what version of the truth to tell. For a second, she looks almost guilty. She finally explains that Knox is in an academy hospital. Gioma is shocked because he thought subspace battles couldn't hurt you like that. Chloe admits she hasn't even visited, so she doesn't know everything. Still, she heard Knox is hospitalized with no physical injuries. Chloe tries to brush it off and says he's probably fine, telling Gioma not to worry. But the way she says it feels like she's trying to convince herself too. Gioma thinks back to how Chloe actually cut Knox herself and how fragile he turned out to be. He worries Knox might be plotting something, and Gioma does not want a revenge arc right now. Gioma does the funniest survival move and pats Chloe on the head like she's a stressed cat. Somehow it works, and Chloe freezes, confused and blushing. Cut to Knox in the hospital, sweating under a mask and looking terrified. Gioma's eyes narrow in that calm, scary way. He doesn't need to raise his voice to feel dangerous, and Knox can tell. Gioma casually asks if he can eat the apple in the room, like this is a normal visit. He's playing it relaxed, but that calm is the real threat. Knox is stunned because Gioma already took a bite. Knox's brain is trying to keep up, but Gioma is acting like he owns the place. Gioma looks around the private hospital suite and comments on how rich the auditorium must be. Knox stands there with his IV pole, realizing Gioma found him way too easily. Knox demands to know how Gioma tracked him down. Gioma reaches forward and Knox panics, thinking this is the moment he dies. A knife flashes in Gioma's hand, shining under the light. Gioma calmly peels the apple with smooth, clean cuts. Knox watches every scrape, terrified, because the skill level feels personal. The peeled apple looks perfect, like it belongs in a fancy commercial. Knox can't understand why Gioma is so good at peeling an apple, and that somehow makes it worse. When someone is that precise, you assume they can do worse things with a blade. Gioma sets the peeled apple down with a sharp clack. It's like he's placing a warning on the table. Gioma tells Knox to eat fruit even if he has no appetite. Knox takes it as pity, and his pride starts boiling over. Knox snaps and thinks about ending Gioma right there. He grips his knife like he's about to make a bad choice, but he hesitates. Gioma walks away and casually warns him about revenge. Knox freezes in place. Gioma drops a brutal threat about wiping out Knox's whole family if he tries something. Knox's eyes go wide in pure shock. The threat hits him like a truck, and his courage evaporates. A loud bang follows as the moment breaks, like the room itself slammed the door on Nox's revenge plan. The apple gets sliced clean, like a quiet final warning. Nox collapses backward as the fear finally catches up to him. The apple pieces crack apart on the plate, matching his mental state. Giomma's footsteps fade away. He leaves like nothing happened, which is exactly why it's scary. Outside at night, Giomma reflects on how broken Nox looked. He admits the bluff worked because Nox had almost no fight left. Giomma replays his own threat in his head and almost laughs at it. He knows it was extreme, but he also knows it was effective. He thinks about worst-case options and how strong he actually is, but he decides he should avoid killing if he can. Giomma pauses under the moonlight, letting the night air settle his thoughts. For once, he just listens to the quiet. He stands alone on the street, small under the wide sky. A montage of chaos flashes through his mind, from fights to strange classmates and constant problems. He wonders if he's getting used to it, and that thought scares him. The same chaotic memories hit again, like the stress is looping. Giomma keeps walking, trying to shake the feeling that he's slowly snapping too. He remembers the same faces and the same pressure. Even his sigh feels tired now. The montage keeps pressing in, reminding him how fast peace turns into drama around here. The thoughts keep repeating until he finally admits it out loud in his head. He might really be losing it, just a little. Giomma tells himself Nox isn't the main concern anymore. The real problem is someone way more annoying and way more dangerous in her own way. Rachel appears in his mind like a cursed event trigger, smiling with those heart eyes. Giomma already knows getting involved with her is a long, messy route he doesn't want. He decides to deal with Rachel later and focuses on the next big thing: midterms. Even in a world with monsters, school still finds a way to ruin your life. Giomma looks at his phone and thinks about needing a weapon he can rely on after his short blessing ends. He's planning ahead, because 30 seconds is not a lot of time when things get serious. On the calendar, midterms are marked like a looming doom date. Giomma stares at it, quiet. He recalls the exam rules: teams of 5, mix roles freely, and hunt demonic monsters. It's basically group work, but with actual deaths. A goofy visual compares rookies and high-level monsters, showing how unfair it can get. Giomma looks like the stressed straight man while chaos runs around him. The target monsters include D-tier mermen, which look ridiculous but still count. More mermen rush in, looking uglier and meaner up close. They move like a pack, ready to overwhelm anyone who slips up. Giomma admits he's scared at them. A mysterious, higher-tier mermaid shows up, way scarier than the basic mermen. Giomma stays deadpan, but he knows demonkin are trouble. He reminds himself that mermaids are demonkin, and that changes everything. Giomma sits on a bench at night and thinks that compared to demonkin, normal demonic monsters are just grunts. He comforts himself that the exam only involves mermen, so he shouldn't panic yet. Time passes and he realizes a whole month has already gone by since he joined the academy. Giomma repeats the word peace like he doesn't fully trust it. He knows humans made a truce with demons hundreds of years ago. But peace doesn't mean the fighting ever really stopped. A shadowy demon figure appears like a memory or a warning. It's a reminder that the real monsters are still out there. A boundary line system flashes on screen. The beeping makes it feel like something is being monitored and strained. The barrier cracks under heavy force, and a promise to bring someone back echoes over it. A massive red-tinted demon presence looms, and soldiers scream for someone important. The same nightmare-like battle shot holds, emphasizing how huge that threat is. Even trained fighters look tiny in front of it. A silhouette drops into the light like a sudden challenger entering the fight. It's the kind of dramatic arrival that usually changes the whole war. Dark shapes lash out across the scene, like claws or wings slicing the air. Someone in the distance braces, but it feels hopeless. A close-up eye stares in shock, splattered with blood. It's the look of someone realizing they are outmatched. When Kim encountered this in the game, he lounges while reading his phone and talks about the strongest humans struggling. He sounds annoyed, like the heroes didn't live up to the hype. Giomma responds with the grim thought: peace came at a steep price. He's not romantic about history. He knows someone always paid in blood. Giomma wonders how Valor Joaquin sealed the first Legion commander alone, and if that man was even human. He swipes through years on his phone, jumping forward like he's searching for something that explains it all. Giomma tells himself there's no point thinking about it now. He forces his brain back to the present and the upcoming midterms. He checks his contacts and realizes he still needs teammates. He wonders if he's been isolating too much, even though he's become known around campus. Jiyama realizes his fame could actually help him recruit a group. If people already know his name, he can use that instead of waiting around. He decides his quiet days are over and promises himself he'll find a solid team and crush the midterms. It's the most motivated he's looked in a while. In his mind, nothing stays easy and quiet. If it's easy, it's probably going to be loud and messy. Later in class, Jiyama sits surrounded by chatter and noise, looking tense. Being popular did not come with peace and silence, that's for sure. Jiyama stares ahead like he can't believe this is his life now. He looks like a guy who just realized group projects are mandatory. A quick combat flash shows Jiyama slashing through enemies with a knife in a storm of cuts, yet no one invited him in their group. Jiyama rubs his face and admits he's never been good at finding a middle ground. He assumes everyone must be scared of him, and honestly, he's not wrong. Something catches his attention and his eyes shift, sharp and alert. In the lecture hall, Jiyama sits above Chloe, and the narration says Chloe has become an outcast too. Jiyama talks to Chloe directly and asks if anyone invited her to a group yet. Chloe answers fast and cheerfully that no one has, like she's trying not to sound hurt. Chloe asks if Jiyama is okay and points out he's always been a loner, but she used to have friends. She says she's fine as long as she has him, and Jiyama just goes silent because that is a lot. Jiyama suggests they team up, but they still need 3 more people. Chloe instantly agrees, bright and eager, like this is the best news she's heard all month. Jiyama decides Chloe is someone he can count on for the exam, since his blessing only lasts 30 seconds. Chloe looks genuinely happy, and for once, it feels like a normal friendship moment. Then Rachel storms in, yelling his name, full speed, like she owns the room. Jiyama's soul leaves his body for a second. Rachel keeps charging down the steps, still shouting and acting like this is a fun game. Everyone else might see a cute girl, but Jiyama sees a walking problem. She doesn't slow down at all, and Jiyama just stands there, bracing for impact. Rachel confronts him and asks why he came back, saying she's here to have fun. Jiyama approaches like he's trying to shut down a fire alarm with a serious face. Chloe appears again with that dark aura and starts muttering about something being big while gripping her knife. Jiyama looks stressed because Chloe is slipping into yandere mode again, right on schedule. Jiyama turns Rachel down and tells her he's busy, and Rachel immediately starts crying like he kicked a puppy. Jiyama tells Rachel to stop the act and just leave. He's trying to set boundaries, but Rachel is not the boundary-respecting type. Rachel flails around dramatically and claims she can't hear him, ignoring everything he says. Rachel throws herself forward and slams onto the desk area with a huge splat, still pretending she can't hear. Jiyama recoils, half shocked and half annoyed, because this is beyond childish. Rachel suddenly gets serious again and asks if Jiyama found a group for midterms. Jiyama realizes she's been ignoring his words on purpose the whole time. Jiyama says no, and Rachel instantly perks up like she just won the lottery. Rachel grins with heart eyes and demands he join her group. And yeah, this is exactly the real problem Jiyama was worried about. Jiyama sits there, trying to keep calm, but Rachel is already leaning in with that nasty, playful look. You can tell she thinks she found the perfect toy. Rachel gets way too close, even grabs at Jiyama's face like she owns him. Jiyama pulls back and makes it clear he is not interested. Rachel says other people are boring and she wants the fun option, meaning him. Jiyama tries to shut it down by saying he already agreed to team up with Chloe, and Chloe hears it from behind. Rachel doesn't even flinch, acting like it's no big deal since there are still open spots. Jiyama is doing the math in his head, worried this group stuff will ruin his grade if he messes up. Jiyama checks Chloe's reaction, and Chloe gives a calm nod. It's like she's saying she's ready to roll with whatever he decides. Rachel taps on her phone like she already filed the paperwork and dares him to undo it. Jiyama asks the big question about who the leader is, because that decides everything. Rachel casually drops the bomb that the leader is Leon, like it's common knowledge. Jiyama's brain basically whites out for a second. After Rachel leaves, Jiyama sits alone in the lecture hall shaking, trying not to panic. He admits to himself he's just a guy who used to cut fish, not someone meant for this mess. In his head, being tangled with the heroines is one thing, but Leon is on a totally different level. Jiyama knows Leon is the main character type, the kind who drags everyone into big events. Jiyama knows this choice will change the whole storyline around him, and he'll be stuck dealing with it. The worst part is Rachel already submitted the group form with his name before even asking, so he got trapped. Gioma fumes so hard he looks like he might explode, swearing he wants payback. Chloe suddenly pops up behind him and asks what's wrong, catching him in full rage mode. Chloe tries to lighten the mood, saying he's looked grim since the blonde showed up. Gioma admits he feels way out of place being grouped with star-class monsters. Chloe hypes him up hard, telling him he's stronger than anyone in the star class, no question. Gioma feels a bit better and reminds himself Chloe joined too, so he can't ditch her and run. Gioma asks Chloe when the group meets again. Chloe says Rachel set it for 6 at the cafe in the central building, and she's already calling Rachel just the blonde, like it's a nickname. Gioma agrees to go, even though he looks like he's walking into a trap. They head to the cafe, and you can already hear the place buzzing with people and fake fancy vibes. A drink gets slammed down on the table like a dramatic entrance, but it's just Chloe enjoying her weird green smoothie. Gioma watches her like she's an alien for liking that stuff. Gioma tries the expensive espresso and instantly regrets it. He nearly coughs his soul out, and Chloe stares like she can't tell if he's dying or being dramatic. Chloe laughs it off while Gioma forces a smile through pain. In his head, he complains the coffee is way too bitter and the price is a straight-up robbery. Gioma's phone buzzes, and it's Rachel asking where he is, like she's the boss. He taps out quick replies telling her the meeting room at the cafe, and she answers like she's on the way. The door creaks open, and the group finally arrives. Rachel walks in loud and cheerful, holding a drink, and Leon comes in behind her. Rachel keeps acting friendly and asks if they waited long, like she didn't cause the delay. Leon looks down at Gioma, and the vibe shifts into that awkward hero meets random guy moment. Gioma notices another guy too, an orange-haired dude with green eyes who looks half bored and half annoyed. The guy turns like he's just checking who's in the room. Gioma sizes him up and thinks he looks like a delinquent type. Leon steps forward and offers a handshake, making it feel like a formal meeting instead of a school cafe hangout. Gioma introduces himself and reaches out, still unsure if this is going to end badly. Leon grips his hand and praises Gioma's earlier battle performance. Drinks get set down and the table finally looks like a real meeting setup. Leon suggests they start with introductions, and everyone seems ready to get it over with. Leon introduces himself as the leader from the star class, talking like a model student in a brochure. Gioma can't help staring because Leon is literally shining with that main character glow. Rachel jokes around and skips her intro since everyone knows her, then pushes the next person. The orange-haired guy introduces himself as Speed Weapon from the Dragon class and says he admires heroes, keeping it short. Gioma is shocked the guy with that dramatic name is so quiet. Then Chloe introduces herself properly, polite and serious. But Rachel immediately acts possessive about Gioma in a way that makes Chloe freeze up. The tension lingers as Chloe's calm face turns stiff, like she's trying not to show it. Rachel's eyes look way too pleased. Chloe finishes by saying she joined because Gioma invited her, trying to keep it normal. Leon and Speed quietly react, like they're impressed she stayed composed through that awkward moment. Gioma finally introduces himself and says he's in the same class as Chloe. Leon claps and moves the meeting forward, but Gioma can feel how strange this group combo is. Leon opens his laptop and says it's time to start the real talk. A hologram map bursts into the air over the table, and everyone stares like they just entered a sci-fi movie. Leon explains the map is of Scopuli Island, where their exam will happen. He says they'll be transported there through a subspace gate, like it's a field trip from hell. Leon adds that even if the gate is in some weird space, the island itself will feel fully real. He zooms in on the map while Rachel watches him like she's entertained by everything he does. Leon shows their assigned area on the northeastern coast, and warning signs pop up like danger stickers. He explains 3 groups will be hunting mermen in that zone, which already sounds like trouble. Leon asks if anyone has questions, and the room goes quiet for a beat. Speed asks about mermaids too, and if that adds danger, and Leon answers that the staff already checked it out so they don't need to worry. Someone asks if groups might fight each other or set ambushes in the same area. Leon says the exam is only about subduing monsters, and fighting other students could get them disqualified, which is a strong warning. Gioma notices Chloe nodding like she's taking notes in her head, and he respects it. Leon ends the meeting and tells them to prep and meet again tomorrow to assign roles. Leon starts packing up his laptop, calm and neat like he's done this 100 times. Gioma realizes he sat in the corner, so now he's stuck alone in the room with Leon, and the silence hits hard. Gioma stands up fast, ready to escape before it gets more uncomfortable. His face tightens like he's bracing for a pop quiz he didn't study for. Leon looks up, confused by Gioma's sudden move. Then he calls Gioma's name and asks where he's from. Leon corners Gioma in the empty meeting room. His eyes are sharp, and you can tell he is fishing for something personal, not just small talk. Gioma stays guarded, trying to read Leon's face, but it feels off in a bad way. He realizes this question has been asked before, yet this time it hits different, like it has a hidden meaning. Leon's gaze gets even more intense, and Gioma starts sweating a little. He wonders if this is about nationality, but the timing makes it feel too planned. Gioma flashes back to earlier when everyone was together, and Leon said nothing then. Now that they are alone, Gioma goes quiet, because this feels like a trap. Leon finally hints that Gioma might be like him, which sends Gioma's mind spiraling. Gioma's face hardens, trying not to react too much. Gioma thinks through how language works in this world and how he can pass as Korean anyway. Leon suddenly backs off and acts like he never asked, which is honestly even more suspicious. Leon turns to leave first, like the whole thing was just a test. Gioma stops him by calling his name, refusing to let it slide. Gioma grabs Leon's shoulder and starts pressing for the real answer, starting with where Leon is from, thinking he might also be an isekai man. Leon glances back, annoyed but also a little caught. From far away, the two look like they are about to start a fight in the hallway. Leon casually breaks Gioma's grip, saying he's German. Leon walks out and leaves Gioma standing there with nothing but questions. Gioma is left staring into space, thinking what the heck that was. A small sound snaps Gioma back to reality, and his eyes widen. He goes silent again because one scary thought just formed and he cannot unthink it. Gioma finally admits it to himself. Maybe Leon is also from another world. If Gioma got dropped into this game-like world, then why would he be the only one? Later, Gioma focuses on his weird blessing, noticing his senses have gotten stronger in a way that does not feel normal. He draws his blade, and the power hums like it is alive. He concentrates hard, then suddenly jolts with a terrifying realization. Leon might actually belong here, which messes up everything Gioma wanted to believe. That shock triggers a nasty headache, like his brain is punishing him for digging too deep. Even with pain resistance, overthinking still hits him like a truck. Gioma compares Leon to the version he remembers from the game, and it matches too well to be a coincidence. He keeps wondering if Leon's question was really just about nationality, but it feels like coping. Gioma tries to look up Leon online, but there is no info at all, like the world erased the page. He gives up and swears he will stop getting involved, because this rabbit hole is nasty. Turns out, he often goes to see Medea, and she teases him for showing up so much and acting stressed. Gioma stays oddly calm on the outside, even though this is exactly the kind of chaos he hates. Back at home, a glowing status panel pops up about the Blade God Blessing. Gioma scans the numbers and notices his body grade improved a lot. He pieces it together. His body got better from training, while the weapon side needs a special blade to rise. But the big surprise is the synchronization value, which has jumped fast and is close to a threshold. Gioma thinks maybe spending time with certain classmates is boosting that sync, and he does not like that at all. He hates not understanding himself, and it's worse because he has nobody he can fully trust to ask. Then the system pings with a fresh update, saying the activation requirement is met and the duration got recalibrated. Gioma's eyes go wide because that sounds like real progress. A bright flash follows, and Gioma checks the new duration in disbelief. It is way longer than before, and he cannot hide how shocked he is. He thinks back to all the painful effort it took to get here, and for once, it feels worth it. Holding the blade now actually makes him happy, even if he cannot explain why. Time passes into the countdown before midterms, and Gioma trains hard like his life depends on it. The next day, the squad hangs out again, laughing and messing around like it is a normal school day. The countdown keeps ticking, and Gioma even ends up goofing off with a practice bat, making someone panic. Chloe watches with a weird tension in her face, like she senses something wrong coming. On the final day, Gioma locks in, gripping his weapon like he is ready for anything. He bursts forward with insane speed, the kind of movement that makes the air rip. His blade cuts clean and sparkles in motion, showing how much stronger he has gotten. Gioma gives a small, confident look, like he is finally starting to believe in his own power. Midterms arrive, and a subspace gate forms at the training grounds, swallowing the mood of the whole place. Gioma studies it, feeling the pressure in the air change. Someone calls out, and Gioma turns to see his group already gathered and armed. Rachel is front and center with that smug energy, while the others stand ready behind her. Rachel greets Gioma like she missed him, and the role display marks her as the main attacker. Leon is labeled the leader, looking cool and confident like this is his natural lane. Speed is marked as the supporter, seeming calm but clearly alert. Chloe shows up as the sub-attacker, cheerful on the surface, even though her eyes look like she is holding back worry. Gioma arrives as the rear guard, apologizing for being late, and the team size finally feels complete. Gioma notices Rachel's weapon is no joke, and Leon still does not have the legendary sword he is supposed to get later. Gioma stares at Speed's gear and cannot believe that is his armament. Speed looks irritated by the attention, like he is tired of being judged. Rachel explains that her strange-looking item is actually a rare, top-tier healing tool. Gioma is stunned because he knows how hard that thing was to get even in the game, and it still looks goofy up close. Gioma leans in, curious, and Speed tells him to back off, acting defensive for no reason. Then the announcement booms across the arena, officially starting the first-year midterms. An instructor addresses the students, saying everyone looks prepared and that the rules will be quick. Wonbin then warns them to run if things go bad because they are not heroes yet. The camera pulls back to show the gate pulsing in the arena like a giant mouth. Leon checks the time, says it is finally time, and tells the team to focus and go all out. Gioma watches the gate and steels himself, knowing this is the moment everything can go wrong. He notices Chloe acting strange and asks what is up because her silence is loud. Chloe admits she has been thinking about mermaids showing up at the destination island. Gioma tries to calm her down, saying the instructors checked ahead, but Chloe still looks uneasy. Chloe's worry gets darker as she thinks about how rare demonkin encounters are outside dungeons, yet rumors keep spreading. The instructors shout for everyone to proceed into the gate, pushing the whole group forward. Gioma places a hand on Chloe's head and tells her to move with him, keeping her close. Chloe forces a smile and tells herself she is safe as long as Gioma is there. The team steps in together, their silhouettes swallowed by the gate's shadow like the world is flipping. Inside, the air turns heavy and cold, and Gioma snaps at Chloe to stay present because something is seriously off. Chloe's eyes go huge, like she just saw a nightmare. The group panics and tries to contact the instructors, but there is no signal, and the place feels like a cave that blocks everything. Then, the real problem shows itself. A terrifying mermaid-like monster rises from the darkness, wrapped in creepy energy. The reveal hits twice as hard, like the situation is repeating itself and confirming Chloe's worst fear. The squad forms up on instinct, weapons drawn, staring up at the threat with no backup coming. Chloe stands at the center of the line, and you can feel the shift from school test to survival fight in 1 second flat.